Welcome back, everybody, to the Degenerate NFL Podcast. We have three of us on today, which means we'll be here for until tomorrow. Hopefully not, actually. No, I'm just kidding. No, we do have plenty to talk about, though, with the NFC East this time, previewing every division in the NFL, hopefully, before week one. Otherwise, we'll have to abandon ship and come up with something else. But we do want to get through the NFC East. The reigning Super Bowl champions, of course, are in there. Dalton, Casey. Unfortunately, I am not a fan of the good Pennsylvania football team currently. But what are you going to do?
That's Aaron Rodgers now.
Woo! Okay. Anyway, now I'm actually sadder than I was already before I said what I said. Anyway, no, he's been okay so far. But that's not what we're not here to talk about Aaron Rodgers. No. There is some quarterback news we could talk about, though. Dalton alludes to it in his title today. Which unfortunately I cannot agree with his statement. Despite wearing a Giants hat, I'm wearing that kind of in solidarity for that team, not having to have Daniel Jones quarterback them any longer. That's just my opinion. However, the news is that Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback of the Colts. We already did our AFC South preview, talked about that situation. We kind of all agreed that, like, if it's going to be like trying to actually win games, even though I don't think they're going to win many games with Daniel Jones as a quarterback, they will probably win more than if they started Anthony Richardson all 17 games. So from a winning perspective, I get it. I think my issue is just the overall process in which this took place. That's where I have an issue, where if you were confident or if you even had a thought that Anthony Richardson wasn't going to be the guy this year, your answer simply, to me at least, cannot be Daniel Jones. It just can't be. That's where I kind of land on it, but I know Dalton has some thoughts here. So
yeah. So I think with Richardson, I mean, while to me it's been very clear that like he is not going to be the guy, I do think I do get you spent a premium amount of draft capital on him.
Yep.
You did want him to win the job, so I get not going all in on one of the bigger free agent quarterback names this offseason, or trading for a Geno Smith or going after Sam Darnold. I get not doing that. So I feel like they were kind of stuck with a Daniel Jones level type quarterback. And I think, the hope is that that's a guy that if Anthony Richardson's going to be a starting quarterback in this league, he should be able to beat out at this point. And he can't, because he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL, because you can't complete half your passes and be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Daniel Jones, for what it's worth, can at least run that Colts offense probably a lot closer to how it's supposed to look. He's not going to He's going to make mistakes. I think the interceptions are going to be an issue in that offense, because it is an offense that is still going to be predicated on ball control. So he's got to get the interceptions down compared to what it's been for him. That's probably the biggest thing. But looking at their schedule, they can win 10 games, Daniel Jones. I really think so. And there's so much more talent than we're going to talk about the Giants here in a little bit. Those Giants teams he's been on the last couple of years are just so much worse than this Colts team that he's going to, in my opinion.
And I think you're right about that. But I think for me, again, if you wanted to go the route of okay, we don't want to bring in a guy that's going to guarantee that Richardson can't beat him out, then at that point, unless Daniel Jones had to have really they said that it was a close battle, it must not have actually been a close battle then. That would be what I'd have to say, because if it was really close, then Richardson needs to be, Daniel Jones would have had to beat him out so badly that I couldn't look my team in the face and start Anthony Richardson. So if it was close and they didn't start Richardson over him, they deserve to lose their jobs. That's my opinion on that, because you can't go to a guy that, to me, is one of the 5 worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL week 1. That's just where I'm at with Daniel Jones. You can't go to that guy just because you might have the 32nd worst quarterback. If the difference is 27, 30, 32 for me, which is where it would be probably, that's not enough to start the guy that is 27th. If he was a younger player as well, or someone that you thought had upside, that would also be
Jones is pretty young.
There's no upside to Daniel Jones for me. So he could be 22. There's no upside to Daniel Jones. But
I don't know. I think And that's the thing. And the fact, and like you said, he must have beaten out Richardson significantly.
I hope he did.
Curious.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see once we hit regular season what he looks like in that offense. Preseason, yeah, he's looked solid, but I mean, everyone looks solid in preseason.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see what it looks like. I do think this might be, if there's any hope of Daniel Jones like resurrecting his career and him having like almost a Sam Darnold level like turnaround, this is it.
Yeah, this is his opportunity because he's not getting another one with another team at this point. I think like this is his chance to do it. I think they can win 8, maybe 9 games at most with him at quarterback is what I'd put it at right now. I think they can compete for a wild card spot. I don't think that matters at all. That's what ultimately I have trouble with because if you're Chris Ballard and you're Shane Steichen, winning 8 games or 9 games with Daniel Jones, 10 games even, if you just to go get absolutely slaughtered in the first round of playoffs. Because let's be real, any team they play in the first round, especially any of the 3 top teams in particular, they're not getting anywhere close to beating those teams with this roster. Like, if the roster's good, it's not as good as those teams, and their quarterback is Daniel Jones. Like, that's simply not going to get it done. I think they get fired then. Like, they should be, at least, if that's the situation. Especially Ballard. Steichen, you could make the argument, like, they haven't really given him the guy, obviously. They tried to. It didn't work out. Yeah. Ballard has to go at that point. Like, if you want to tell me that Daniel Jones is who your quarterback is in a playoff game for the Colts, I can't get there with that. So, like, that's the tough part for me. Like, it's going to be better than if Richardson started in the win column, most likely. Now, there's also the argument to be made is that I was going to make, and I decided really not. I don't think there's enough there to do it. He does have a winning record as a starter in 15 games. So, like, they've been able to win games with him. It's that it hasn't looked the way that they want it to look. So if they went 8-7 with him,
it's just not.
It probably isn't. But like he was 6-5 last year, and look what he did. Like the Colts roster is probably better this year.
That to me that shows how good this roster is, and that's why I do think you put somebody like Daniel Jones to just run the offense at least a little bit more efficiently. I think this is an offense that can be very good pretty quickly when you factor in. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is still a pretty good running back. That offensive line is very good. They do have a ton of weapons. I mean, I think Tyler Warren's going to have a pretty big rookie
Looks
season.
like they're going to try to at least try to get him to have a big rookie year. Yeah.
And I mean, and then you got guys like Michael Pittman on the outside. I mean, I think. And we've already covered AFC South, but I really do think like Daniel Jones. I think it's going to look better than people think. I'll talk more about it. Spoiler
tomorrow
to the gambling show. I'll be talking about it in a couple weeks when we do.
I would say there's a way you can put your money where your mouth is on this.
Oh, I have.
Tune in tomorrow.
I know he's going to. My thing is like.
But it's worse than just Colts playoffs. It's in a parlay with another team making the playoffs, and it's going to be – I'll talk about it in a couple weeks when we do NFL futures.
Yeah. But before we get off the Daniel Jones thing, last thing I wanted to mention is, like, with that whole thing of, like, well, they went 6-5 with Anthony Richardson. Why wouldn't they do that with Daniel Jones? I think they could. I think there is a question, though, like, how many explosives are you going to lose by having Daniel Jones be your quarterback versus Anthony Richardson? Does that make up enough of a difference? Probably by a small margin, but I think you lose most of the explosives in the passing game. I just simply don't think Daniel Jones has any ability to push the ball down the field at this point. At least when he has it, has not successful. That's my thing. Is like you're going to get more consistent offense, but how many times are you going to have a 40-yard drive that ends in a field goal versus a 60-yard drive that ends in a touchdown because he had 2 explosive plays, the 2 plays he got that game. Like it's just going to be interesting to see what how different it is, right? Because like explosives matter a ton in the NFL, but you have to supplement them with actually holding onto the football. So like there's the same side, there's like different sides of the same coin. Like
I think it's going to look like the Joe Flacco games, but a little bit better because he can actually run.
And like if that's what they get, like again, Chris, sorry, you're gone, brother. It's over. We need to do something else. Like, something else has got to happen at that point. Like, I'm not letting that dude pick the next quarterback. I'll tell you that much. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
No offense to Chris. I think he's good at a lot of things, not the most important thing at this point. So, so but let's get into the Giants here. We're going to start, of course, from the bottom, which, boy, were they the bottom, despite the Cowboys trying to give them a run for their money because of injuries and other things.
They might.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about this year at least, but this past year, was. So, weirdly enough, as far as this team goes, despite coming off I think it was 3-14, right? If I'm not mistaken, I was going to go back and double check. Season, no notable changes to the coaching staff. They kept this thing going, and I do think Dable's a good coach. I don't know if Joe Shane's a good GM. However, he has lucked into some pretty good players recently. So it's, you hope that he could keep doing that with hopefully not as high picks coming after this year, but we'll see. But they do keep this staff and the GM in place for the most part. So not really much changing as far as scheme and who's running the show here. So we can kind of move past that one. Offensive moves I want to get into with this team because there's a couple key ones. Not a ton of movement here, especially on offense, especially outside of the draft, right? Like a lot of what they did to upgrade this offense was in the draft. However, they do completely overhaul the quarterback room. As we just talked about, Daniel Jones no longer there, was gone midway through last season. Drew Lock is now back in Seattle, which is apparently the only place he could play well, according to his stats there, both regular and preseason. I don't know what's going on there, but whatever, good for him. So the quarterback room is completely different. They bring in Russell Wilson, who I'm very familiar with, unfortunately in some ways. It's kind of back and forth. He's definitely a better quarterback than Daniel Jones, even now, in my opinion, by a pretty good margin. So you hope that he can at least be a veteran passer. Listen, as someone who watched him last year, he has a lot of faults at this point. Daniel Jones can't even touch Russell Wilson still at this point, to me, as a passer. It's just not close. But that makes him, the 22nd best quarterback opposed to the 27th. So it's like, what are you going to do with that? But they have a guy that I think can at least probably run an offense to some degree, more so than Daniel Jones could, at least with the Giants at that point. They do have a better roster around Wilson than they've had with Jones, to be fair as well. We'll get into that a little bit. But they bring in him to be the presumed starter. That's what it's going to be for at least now. They do have Jameis Winston, who they can go to if they, just want to be interesting for a week or two before that blows up as well, like it is every time with Jameis Winston. But he's there. Good for him. A little $4 million deal. So they have him. And then, of course, we'll talk about the draft more specifically in a second. But they do bring in Jackson Dart, which I have plenty to say about Jackson Dart, but we'll get to that in a little bit. They do bring back as well Darius Slayton, who I thought was going to finally leave because it always feels like he doesn't want to be there, but then he always just is there. But good player. I like what he does as a deep threat. Greg Van Roten,
they don't
presumably
need
back. What's up?
They don't need him. They
Probably
don't
not.
need another slot-ish guy. That's their
I view him as more of an outside deep threat. That's how he's been mostly used in the Giants.
Fast guys. They don't need more little fast guys.
Oh, they definitely don't need more of them, but they got plenty of them right now. I'll tell you that much.
That's all they have.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit here because there's a couple other guys that didn't have to be resigned that are still there. So we'll get into that. But they bring back Greg Van Roten to be one of the guards there. They bring in James Hudson from the Browns, who got $6 million, but I don't think he's really even close to being a starting caliber player. So I don't know if he's just supposed to be depth, but probably. Maybe insurance for if Andrew Thomas isn't quite healthy, which I know he's been activated, so he should be back for the start of the season. We'll see if he can stay healthy. And then in the draft, of course, I mentioned Jackson Dart. Everybody's favorite running back, Cam Scadaboo, and Marcus and Bo are the three main guys I would say from that draft, of course, on offense. So let's talk about this offense, like what we kind of expect it to look like, what we expect out of it now that they've added these pieces. I want to start with Dalton, what your thoughts are. The biggest thing is obviously the quarterback situation. Do you think this quarterback situation as a whole is going to be good enough for Dable to at least get more out of this offense that he's been able to get the last 2 years?
I don't know. Russell Wilson, I think at this point he is just a replacement level starting quarterback.
For the most part,
slightly above replacement level, maybe.
Yeah.
But once you get below 20, in terms of quarterback
you're getting just baseline quarterback play for the most part.
Yeah, that's pretty much all he's providing at that point. And maybe he's an upgrade over Daniel Jones, but with that offense and the lack of talent everywhere else, they really, like I said, with the wide receivers, I don't feel like they've added anything that they needed in this draft in terms of I swear they don't know what a possession receiver is. They don't.
Yeah.
They have no concept of we need someone that can just win.
They had Isaiah Hodgins and they were like, we don't like that guy.
Yeah.
And he's fine as a possession guy, but they're like, nope, we don't want him. So that was really their only guy they sort of had in that mold, but go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't like the receiver room. Even though I do like Neighbors, they have Neighbors and then a bunch of guys that are kind of similar to him, but not able to do all the things he can do. And there's just nobody in that receiver room that complements him, which is the kind of the frustrating part. And then, running back, your best running back is still a converted wide receiver in Tyron Tracy, who's very good, but
did have a very good season, but
had a very good year. But that's it. The offensive line, if you're starting guys like Greg Van Roten and Jermaine Luminor, you got some issues. You can only go so far. Those two guys in your starting lineup, you probably have a bottom 10 offensive line in the league.
Yeah, that doesn't get into John Michael Schmitz, who I did like a lot coming out of Minnesota, but has not been good up to this point at center. John Runyon's a good player, but not a very balanced player, has some issues.
He was a good player.
Yeah, he's fine. And then Andrew Thomas, if he plays, brings the floor of this lineup, but when you have one dude who you're like, that's definitely a great player, not enough in the NFL to be anything more than a bottom 10 offensive line. That's just kind of where they're at.
Yeah, if you have one hole in an offensive line, it's kind of almost impossible to have a good unit if you have one liability.
True, massive liability. Yeah. Yeah, I would say Schmitz up to this point has been one. Runyon could always be one, and then Luminor I think is fine. He's probably their second best player on that line currently. If I was breaking him, but
as someone that watched him a lot, he ain't it.
Yeah, and he was fine last year. He's certainly not their biggest problem on this offensive line.
Yeah,
it was really Andrew Thomas being out was the biggest issue, honestly, just because they didn't have anyone to replace him realistically, and. Yeah, now you have Marcus Mbow, who maybe he could steal one of those spots at some point. 5th round rookie, so we'll see.
I'd stick him in a guard.
Yeah, that's where he will. That's where he'll play if he plays. I think is guard for sure. Evan Neal, which just god awful 7th overall pick, and I feel bad for Giants fans because that was kind of consensus for the most part.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like they did something stupid. Really, it just didn't work out. Sometimes it doesn't, right? That's what it is. So that offensive line is a whole problem. I think I do want to talk about the quarterbacks again. In case I want to get your thoughts on this too. Once I mention the quarterbacks again here, I think Russell Wilson is going to at least kind of, I don't want to say right the ship, but I think he's going to at least be a professional quarterback that they can ask to do certain things and expect decent results out of, and not really have to worry about the complete and utter breakdowns. The problem with Daniel Jones ultimately, and this is why again with the Colts, where I think he can run an offense. I think the problem is sometimes he just short circuits and forgets how to play football. I don't really think Russell Wilson is going to have that problem. I think he's limited by his age and some of the things he's lost as a player, but I don't think his brain is scrambled all of a sudden. He's not this guy that's going to turn the ball over in bunches. He did have some issues with that down the stretch with Pittsburgh, but I think he was really pressing because this team had a lot of expectations, being 10-3, and then losing the rest of the way, out. So they're not going to have those issues. Yeah. So
because he's going to have to press even more this year in order.
I think they're hoping that they won't have to do that. I think is the hope. I think that their defense. I think they're going to try to lean on this defense that suddenly does look a little bit pesky. I will say that. We'll talk about the defense in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think they're hoping to be able to balance things out a little bit more and not have to rely on either side of the ball necessarily to completely solve all the problems, because they just weren't good enough to do that last year. This year, I think there's at least a chance the defense can, I don't want to say carry them, but at least make the offense not have to press as hard as it has in the past, the last couple of years, especially with a guy that is an offensive coach. That's what he's trying to take pride in. Just didn't have the pieces. Now it's a little bit better, but it's still probably just a little far away from being like a good unit. But again, so you have Russell Wilson. James Winston is a break glass in case of emergency / our season's over and we're not ready to start Jackson Dart kind of thing.
He's a vibes guy. He is purely
very much a vibes guy
in the locker room.
Pretty much. And then again, if he gets in the game, he'll have 3 spectacular throws and then he'll lose the game. So like that's what it'll be. So that'll be fun for a little bit. And then the Jackson Dart of it all. I want to take a little bit of time on that. I personally had him as a day 3 quarterback. That's me personally. I know a lot of people liked him more than that. I think he's one of those guys where when you combine the fact that I think the traits are just good, not spectacular. Like I don't think he has a spectacular arm. I think he's a good athlete. He's not a transformational athlete. He's not going to be this force in the design run game or anything like that. When you combine like good NFL traits with an offense that he played in college that simply has nothing translatable about it to the NFL, and he still struggled with decision making at times in that offense, you just simply can't. I can't get there with him in really, especially the first round, but the first 3 days, like 2 days of the draft, I can't get there. Right now, because of the situation he's going to be in, where Russell Wilson is a guy that should at least be able to, I think, hold this job for most of the year, as long as they're not like 1-10 or something ridiculous, which I don't think they will be. I think they're at least a little bit better than that this year. You hope that he can actually sit the whole year, because if there's any guy that needs to sit for a season, is this guy. If you want to give him a shot at being good in this league, you can't throw him out there this year, in my opinion. So we'll see if that happens. It oftentimes doesn't work out that way. But he is a later first-round pick. They have 2 veterans in front of him that have played a lot of games, especially Russell Wilson, obviously. I'm hoping they have not only the ability to do it, but the freedom to do it, like that the owner doesn't say, hey, I need to see this kid. You drafted him. You hope that doesn't happen. But I do think if we see him, it's going to be rough. And I think it's going to get these guys, if they already haven't lost their jobs, really make them lose their jobs if he has to go out there as a rookie. So that's my 2 cents on that. Casey, I don't know if you got to see much of Dart as a prospect or anything.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
So, like, the first thing when I was like doing my little overview on the Giants, this is just the Browns, but in blue. Like, the same situation. Yeah. We have 3 or 4 guys that, like, have had experience, don't have experience. You have guys that don't have any experience. Like,
Tommy Cutlets.
Jameis Winston connects the 2 as well.
Somehow,
like, it's just like it. I don't know. I just can't get over this. And like you said with Jackson Dart, you can have all the physical traits you can want and need. It's the mentality or the mentals of it, like being able to make the reads, make the throws. Like you said, that offense in college in Ole Miss is not going to transfer over to the NFL. He's going to get destroyed.
It would take him a while to be able to run an NFL offense.
Yeah. Like, and when I say destroy, I'm not saying physically. Like, it's going to look bad.
Honestly, physically too, because this dude just takes hits. I don't know, like for some reason he gets destroyed all the time. Like, I respect the toughness, but also like maybe let's protect ourselves a little bit more often. As the starting quarterback, but that's neither here nor there. But
like, and him and Neighbors are probably going to have a few good plays this year. Like, if he plays, like you said, I do think he should sit out a year. I think that Russell Wilson, for what he is, you're gonna, what you're gonna get, and I think it kind of buys, as much as I think Dable is a good coach, he could be on the hot seat if we start seeing more seasons like this, but I think this buys him another year, because he's going to be like, hey, I have a guy here that I'm trying to get ready. Let's give it another season here. So with that, and then the one last thing with this offense that I'm like, Cam Scatterbo, I'm curious what this looks like. Like, I feel like he is an 80s like Giants legend already somehow. Like, I feel like I should see pictures of him on the field with like Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor or something like that. Like, with a mullet, like it. I don't know. We'll see how this. You don't really see guys like him in the NFL as much anymore. Like, offensively wise, like I don't know.
he was a really tough evaluation for me because like I respect his game and what he does. I do just wonder if he's just going to be too limited of an athlete at the NFL level. And I think if he pairs with Tracy, who is very, very different from him in every way possible, I do think there is that thunder and lightning element that could theoretically work. And like his ability to break tackles, his receiving game ability, was granted Tracy as a former receiver also has that. So it's like, do you need both? But whatever.
Yeah.
I think he can be an effective part of a backfield. I just don't think that, and the draft capital suggests this, that he probably isn't a guaranteed starting caliber running back, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see how they use him. I know he's been banged up. Apparently he's back at practice, I think today, with the hamstring. So hopefully he's healthy enough to be a part of this group when we get to the regular season. But again, the offense, I think it's definitely improved from last year from a talent perspective. Yeah. And I think there's more pieces in place that's like, all right, we can field an offense that at least is workable. It's really, and we're going to get into it right now, the defense that I think could possibly make this team at least friskier than it was last year. Like, I don't think this is a bottom 3 NFL team this year at this point because the defense, I think, has enough potential to kind of at least get them out of that, like, true bottom feeder territory for me. Not to spoil my, win total range and expectations and everything, but that's kind of where I'm at with them. And a lot of it is because of the defensive moves. So, as far as moves, they do lose Azeez Ojulari, who's been banged up for most of his time there, but been effective when he's played. He's now an Eagle. We'll talk about him later. Isaiah Simmons, I put him on because he played a good bit, but like we kind of know that Isaiah Simmons is not really a good football player, unfortunately, at this point. Adoree Jackson, who played a lot for them, came back and started the corner. Their starting safety, Jason Pinnock, is now gone. They definitely upgraded him. We'll talk about that in a second here too. And then they signed Roy Robinson Harris to play along defensive line. Chauncey Golston from the Cowboys is also brought in. Paulson Debo's him and Javon Holland both are their 2 big additions in free agency, which I think are huge upgrades of what they had at both corner and safety. And then in the draft, 2 big choices here for them. Abdul Carter, obviously, in the top 3, and then Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle out of Toledo, also joins the defensive line. I think, and it's hard to say this because we haven't seen Carter play in the NFL yet, obviously. But if what I believe about him is true, I think this is going to be one of the 5 best defensive lines in the sport pretty comfortably. And if that's the case, everything else kind of falls into place here with this defense. Because I think the secondary has some spots that I'm not 100% on. But I think for the most part, they have good players at almost every spot. The linebacker group is fine. Like Okereke's a good player. That he's good enough as it is. If this defensive front is as good as I think it could be, this defense at least has a chance to contend for being a top 10 unit. Now, they have to stay healthy, of course, like any unit has to. They have to have Carter be the guy that they think he is right away. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence is there too, Brian Burns. Like, that's why this team to me isn't one of the 3 or 5 worst teams in the league at this point for me going into 2025 because of what this defense could potentially be.
Yeah, I like the front 7 a lot. I mean, this could be one of the better front 7s in the league. Yeah. Very quickly. Kind of depends on what you get out of Carter. I think also like what you get out of Kayvon Thibodeau is another.
Yeah, how does he fit into that rotation, right? Like, how does he work out? Yeah.
But I mean, I do think like the front 7's at least going to be solid. The secondary, I do think I like the additions. I am curious to see how Debo looks in a situation now where he's going to be, a little more heavily relied upon, I think, with the Giants. I think they're probably, he's going to have to really be a shutdown guy for them, for that defense to really work. But I mean, that defense, I think, will at least be worst case scenario. It should be average to above average.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario. So I think that helps. That should help a lot. But yeah, I mean, I like what they did on defense. I'm not as high on Darius Alexander as I know you were.
I was higher on, but he's also a 3rd-round pick. Like, he top of the 3rd round, but like, I think when you play next to Dexter Lawrence as well.
Exactly. Anyone's
like one-on-one with him. Like, his just athletic profile is tough to deal with one-on-one from what he showed even at Toledo. Now, if he had to be like one of like the second best player on the defensive line or something like that, that'd be a different issue for me. Because even I'd be like, that's asking a lot. He's going to be the fourth best at best. That's if Thibodeau doesn't play a ton, right? And that's good for a guy that's coming in as an older rookie who's more developed at this point. Probably not going to be a superstar by any means, but he's going to at least be able to clean up sacks and be able to get pressure one-on-one. So, any thoughts, Casey, here with the defense?
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Looking at my notes here. The biggest one for me was Abdul Carter, seeing what he does. That I feel like the Giants always have a pretty solid front seven.
It's always a point of emphasis with that.
Yeah, I think that's like what they pride themselves on. So it wasn't a shock to see them go with Abdul Carter here. I thought it was funny with that Jets game when he got blown up by like the third string tight end, and he was like, "That's going to be the highlight of their year." And I was like, "Dude, just take it."
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
If I'm that tight end, I'm like, yeah, that's my highlight. I just destroyed a first round defensive end. Get out of here. So
it's pretty funny.
Yeah, but I think this defense is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting, especially with the quarterback situation this year.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we talked about Russell Wilson being able to just guide you and coach you through this season, hopefully, I think this defense is going to have to come up with some takeaways. They're going to have to pin them deep because this offense isn't going to be able to move the ball down 80, 85 yards. So I think this front seven's really going to pin down. It's their safety pickups, Pinnock, Holland.
Losing Pinnock losing
Pinnock and picking up Holland.
That's a huge upgrade. Yeah, even with Holland being banged up last year.
Yeah, I think this defense is just going to I don't know. I think this defense is. I know we're going to get into it with the expectations, but I think this defense is going to be the key to this season. And if the defense is going good, then I think the Giants could have a decent season. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. So again, with the defense, that's kind of the key to everything. I think for me is if your worst starter on defense is either like Micah McFadden, who's like a baseline linebacker in the NFL, or Deontay Banks, who admittedly was bad last year, but is a former first-round pick that flashes rookies at times. Maybe with him being not the focal point in the secondary this year, that will help a lot. So that's if that's your worst player on defense, you probably one of the better defenses in the league. That's just kind of where we're at with that. Especially if, again, it all comes down, especially to Carter. If he's a true difference maker as a rookie and not just a solid rookie, that's what can take this group from a middle of the pack team to okay, this might be a top 10 unit in the league, right? That's what's going to probably make the difference here, because everyone else you kind of know what you're getting out of, right? Especially Dexter Lawrence and guys like that. But with the expectations for this team, getting into that, they just need to show that they can be a competitive football team again, because when you look at Dable's first year where they sneak into the playoffs, beat the Vikings, that version of the Giants is not nearly as talented as this one is. But they were able to still make it work and be competitive and win 9 games, make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year or anything like that, but they better be much more competitive and try to at least get close to that playoff fringe. That's what the expectations need to be, because if they don't get there, what is the reason to keep Dable around? He hasn't been able to make it work with the quarterbacks that he's chosen, let's be honest with you, because Daniel Jones, he didn't pick him, but he definitely chose him.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Joe Shane that did that for the most part. I don't think it was, because I think they would have had to sign off on that with him being the offensive head coach especially.
Yeah.
But once he tied himself to Daniel Jones, he should be happy he has a job right now. That's just what it comes down to. So if he doesn't show serious improvement with, admittedly, again, not a huge upgraded quarterback, but probably an upgrade to some degree, then it's probably lights out at that point. So that's, for me, what the expectations have to be.
All I'm saying is Tommy DeVito better pick it up.
There we go.
There's a quarterback war right now, and he can
gotta sneak in there.
Yeah. Sorry, Dalton. I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. You're good. I think conveniently for the Giants, there are no expectations, and I think that's why that's why they spent a first round pick on Dart, because it buys this regime probably another year.
That's the goal, I think. Yeah,
guaranteed. And I think honestly, we'll talk about win total here in a second, but I just don't think that they're that concerned with winning football games this year. I think they want to show growth for sure, but I mean, I don't be surprised if Jackson Dart is starting by December, either because of injury or because they've punted on the season by then.
I just feel like if that's the mentality, like I would have at that point I'm questioning ownership, not necessarily the coaching staff, because if you're being told like
we know that's an issue too. Though.
Yeah, we know it's an issue. Like, but the fact that he kept
why
him around
Dart was picked in the first round.
That's unfortunately he does have the look, you know. He does have the look of a Giants quarterback.
He looks like a Giants quarterback.
He certainly does.
Let his son take over. Who's this little teenage son that's like?
I forget.
That
But
let him take over.
What are your expectations for this team, Casey?
So find your quarterback. Not necessarily find your quarterback. Find your plan for your quarterback. You got to stick with it. If Dable is going to prove that he's a good coach, he's got to have a plan. He can't, like, if we're hitting week 8 and they're on a skid, he can't freak out. He's got to stay the course. I think the worst thing you can do right now is pick a plan of action and then deviate from it because it's a little sketchy at that moment. They have to pick a plan with this quarterback room. Russell Wilson, he's going to take us this year. Jackson Dart, you better have your freaking headset on, calling in plays. You better be watching defenses, everything. And he's got to he's got to give this defense some freedom to do what they got to do. And my expectation is for them to find out what's going to happen with this quarterback situation going forward with the Giants because they've been in hell since Eli Manning.
Yeah, I think real quick. I think the biggest thing is if and when Jackson Dart comes in this year, he can't once Jackson Dart takes the field, that has to be the Jackson Dart era.
Yes.
You can't have him come in for a couple games and be like, no, we're going back to Russell Wilson, or no, we're going to put Jameis in. No.
Yeah.
If you decide say Russ gets hurt, you either say Jackson's not ready, we're going to play Jameis Winston, or you put Jackson Dart in and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Like what I was going to say off of what Casey said is the plan for me, it has to be this. It has to be Russell Wilson's your starter. If he's hurt and or ineffective, you go to Jameis Winston. And if he gets hurt or is so ineffective that you think that Dart is going to be an upgrade and you think he can learn something from playing those rest of those games, then you can play him. But he has to earn it, in my opinion. Like you can't put him out there just because the season's over. Like if he's not ready to play in practice, if he's not showing you the things he needs to show you, you do not put him on the field. I don't care if you have to put Tommy DeVito out there out of the practice squad. Do not put this man on the field if you don't think he's earned it in the practice field because this is the type of quarterback that because of what he needs to work on and the things that he needs to improve on, if he goes out there, you very well could ruin this guy. Like it's very possible that happens with a player like this because it's not just like, oh, well, you have Levis. Like it's not just one of those things where it's like, oh, he just needs to work on his accuracy a little bit or like he needs to work on the fundamentals. It's like he needs to learn how to play NFL quarterback because he didn't come close to doing it at the college level. A lot of guys don't play in like NFL traditional offense, obviously in college, but most of them have concepts or they do things that are similar. Not for him. Like that just isn't what his situation is. So do not force him out there. I totally agree with that, Casey.
And like whatever they're spending on his guarantees, like $16-18 million, something like that. Just because you're giving this young guy that amount of money, you can't just throw him out there. Just because you put all this money into a guy, you can't just throw him out there.
Like he has to be ready to go. That's why you draft him in the first round, in my opinion, this, because you want that fifth-year option. You want the extra time to have this dude on the roster where if he does work out, you don't have to pay him big money until 4 or 5 years from now. So that's another benefit of that.
This isn't Joe Burrow. Like he's not going to come in. He's not going to come in and be like, all right, we got our guy.
So let's get into the win total range for this team. I want to hear Dalton's thoughts on this first because I have a feeling he might be a little different than me at least, but.
So my floor for this team is 4 wins. Okay. I think it'll be at least a game better than what it was last year. The roster's overall better, but I mean, there's definitely a world where if Jackson Dart's playing 10 plus games this year, they're probably not winning more than 5 max. I think 4 is probably the rock bottom. I think the ceiling for this team, I still like with this offense. 8 wins, I think would be a good year for this team, and I think that would be like a year where you'd say, all right, we have a lot we can build on, but that's as far as I'm willing to go for this team. It's not gonna be good.
Yeah, so for me, I have the floor at 5 only because I think if they stick to the plan of things for the most part, they can get to 5 wins, even if Dart comes in at the very end or something like that. I think they can get to 5 wins with this roster. I think I'm going to keep the ceiling the same as you though at 8 because I think that they're just shy of having a true like playoff contending roster. And for me, if you're going to have any sort of chance of playoffs, it's got to be 9 games most of the time. Even in an NFC that's like kind of iffy, like I still think 9 is the benchmark you have to hit. I don't know if I quite think that they can do that, so I have to kind of leave it at 8. But this defense for me, like that's why I wanted to put it at 9 at first because I'm like, man, I've seen some bad Steelers offenses win 10 games because of the defense. But I think their defense is shy of what Steelers have been doing, obviously. Yeah. Like they have to prove it before I give them that benefit of the doubt. So for me, I'll stick at 8 as well.
Yeah, I think this team is built to where it'll sleepwalk into 5 to 6 wins at the floor. With Dable and this roster getting an improvement like we've been talking about, I truly think they'll hit 8 or 9 wins. And I do want to not preface. I have not done the math, so if anyone's watching, be like, "Oh, you guys have like 10 wins for this team." The math, I'm just know that I'm just saying.
This is just individual.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing it team by team. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and figure that out. But.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I did ranges. I'm not getting if you want to try to make a living guessing exact records for teams, go for it. It won't be me.
Yeah. So I think realistically 8 wins for this team. They'll sleepwalk into 5 to 6 if everything goes to shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for them as well. So we'll see if the Giants can get off the absolute floor of the NFL. I do think that's very likely unless things really go bad. That would be injuries and Russell Wilson just being the worst quarterback in the league, which for a little bit of last year it kind of looked like it, but not even really. It was a lot of other issues too, but it is what it is. Let's get into our next team here, which is going to be, at least in my opinion, the hardest team to talk about in this division for sure. Dallas Cowboys, who you've probably seen them in the news in recent months. Not that you don't always see them in the news for one reason or another, but for unfortunately, as it usually tends to be, for not the best reasons in the world. We'll get into it more once we get into like the defense and what we expect from them and everything like that. But the Michael Parsons situation is a really good example of what happens when a franchise prioritizes being seen and not being in the Super Bowl. Like that's what happens when you prioritize wanting to be in the news cycle. You prioritize wanting to do things only your way or the highway, as Jerry Jones likes to do. You end up with a generational pass rusher who wanted to be, according to his own words, who knows, maybe part of what he's saying isn't true, but I'm going to take him at his word at this point, wanted to be a Cowboy for life, wanted to sign a deal after his 3rd season, which is when you should sign guys like this, by the way, Jerry, because then you don't have to pay them fucking $10 million more a year than you would have had to pay, but that's beside the point. Wanted to do it, and you wanted to like talk about it with him personally and like behind closed doors without his agent. Like that's what we're hearing. What are you talking about? Like, what are you doing?
I think because he's negotiating a contract with Michael Parsons and not Micah Parsons.
Like this whole situation is just another example of why the Cowboys have meant nothing to the NFL in terms of actual on-field football for 30 years. That's what it comes down to. They do business in a way that prioritizes being in the news cycle over actually building a contender, because this team won 12 games 3 years in a row, and no one cares because they got absolutely shit stomped the second the game mattered, and that's what was always going to happen. And we knew it going into the season. It wasn't even like, oh, I wonder if no, we knew exactly how it was going to play out every year. And then that Niners game would come up. We're like, oh, that's going to be an ugly one, folks. Might want to turn your TVs off. And they don't even get me started on the Packers game a couple years ago. Holy crap, was that horrendous. but we knew it was going to probably happen. Like even that game, I'm like, the Packers, I like the way they finished the season. I don't trust the Cowboys. I might pick them an upset. They didn't just upset them. I'm surprised they kept the stadium up after that game. Like I would have closed shop. Forget that. Like, but again, the Cowboys are, we know who the Cowboys are. But yes, Casey, what's up?
Can we stop calling them America's team?
I haven't called them that in my entire life, so I don't know.
I'm tired. You still hear people say it. This is not America.
It's like a nickname at this point. It's like that's a title. What do you like? We can't. Let's just not give anyone a title. How about that? Let's just not do that. Like, because too many teams could try to say that they are.
Every team that like Commanders and the Lions and they're coming up, America's team. America's team
is who won the Super Bowl last. Let's just say that. That's an easy way to do it. I know some people will hate that because then it's a team they don't like. But that's, if you want to give someone that title, that's the only situation I'll say it's okay. Like, that's my point. But let's get into the coaching staff. Go ahead, Dalton. What's up?
No, I'll wait because a lot of what I was going to say, when we get into offense.
Yeah, we will. So coaching staff changes, a couple key ones, obviously, really two that are well, three actually, I should say, because one is notable because of what they did with it, and another one is notable because of who they hired. So we'll get into that. Mike McCarthy mercifully gone from this organization for a guy that, again, they won 12 games multiple times with him as the coach, but it never felt like it did it. You always were kind of like, they're going to win regular season games. Let's see what happens when they have to face a team in a playoff situation. And then the same thing would happen pretty much every time, minus a couple of small examples of it not happening. So he's gone after they finally bought him out due to injuries and other things. Again, good. And in anti-Cowboys fashion, this is maybe the most interesting part of their offseason for me, because we knew, at least we thought, that they were going to make some sort of insane hire, like whether it was going to be freaking Deion Sanders or whoever, like someone ridiculous was going to get hired here. You'd think, right? Brian Schottenheimer? That's who you go with the head coach? I don't even know. I don't even know what my opinion is supposed to be about that, because it's so not Cowboys to do it that I almost kind of want to like it, but then I'm I don't really care for Brian Schottenheimer though either as a play caller that much. So I'm I can't really say that it's a good hire, but I'm also I guess at least you didn't do this crazy thing. But that's my problem with it, is it breaks my brain because it's not what I thought was going to happen. That's the first one, obviously the major one. They then hire Clayton Adams, who is formerly the offensive line coach for the Cardinals, who's done a good job over there. He's really the offensive coordinator just because they wanted to hire him away. That's what it comes down to. Schottenheimer's going to run the offense. And then they do make who I think is a really good hire because it's the only thing he is good at. Matt Eberflus comes over, formerly the Bears head coach, to be the DC here. So I like some of the coaching stuff. It's just the Schottenheimer thing is weird for me. I don't know. How do you feel about it, though?
Yeah, so Mike McCarthy, he has made a very long NFL head coaching career off of being great in the regular season. But that's all he's ever going to get you, and I think the Cowboys figured that out. Schottenheimer, we'll see. To me, I hate saying it because it's not fair to him, but to me, he's just one of the many, many Nepo baby head coaches or coaches in the NFL that find their way into it because of their last name and who their daddy is.
Sometimes that's good. Other times it's not, right? So which side of the coin is it?
It does work. Yeah, it does work at times, but I
would call it uninspired.
Kind of
I'd call it uninspired.
Hire, that might be what they need.
That's the problem, though, right?
Yeah. Let's put it this way. Yeah. They could have made a lot worse hires. Jerry didn't do the Jerry thing, and that's kind of impressive. As far as the defensive coordinator thing, they kind of went from one ex-head coach to another. Going from Mike Zimmer to Matt Eberflus is very kind of whatever.
I do think Eberflus is shown more success more recently too, is the thing. I will give him that.
And Eberflus, I will say, I think will be more creative, which I think you need someone that's going to be creative if you're going to have Micah Parsons on your roster. because I think Zimmer put him in a box a little bit. But then again, Micah Parsons might not be on the roster. I mean, I still think like we know what the Cowboys do. They're gonna overpay him on September 1st. They're gonna make him the highest paid defensive player in the league, which if anyone should be the highest paid defensive player in the league, it is him. He is by far the most valuable.
He has the right combination of age and close enough to the Garretts of the world to like you. Yeah.
And the skill set, the versatility, because I mean, you can ask him to. There's a lot of things you can ask him to do that you can't ask any of the other edge rushers in the league to do. I mean, you could theoretically have him return punts and kicks if you
That'd be fun for like one time.
You really could.
No, like I get you there. The Schottenheimer thing again, that's why it breaks my brain because like, and I want to get Casey's thoughts on that too. Like, I just didn't think that was what was going to happen. I was like, once his name started to float out there more, and I'm like, they're going to just promote the court, like, for what? What are we talking? And then I'm like, oh, holy shit, they did it. All right, I guess. Cool. Like, what did you think with it, Casey?
I mean, I think Dalton brought up a good point with the Nepo baby. I mean, I think his dad, Marty, might. I mean, I'm not going to take away Brian Schottenheimer's success that he's had because
I'm sure he's
in the league. Like, even if your dad is Marty Schottenheimer, you can't just get thrown in there and have however long he's been in the. He's been with like 10 different teams coaching already, so like he's doing something.
Yeah.
I like you said, Shane. It's weird that they didn't make the big. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, is this guy going to come in and be like, here's how you play football? We're going to know frills about it. Like, so I am kind of excited to see what happens here. He wears a lot of backward hats and stuff, so I'm sure Colin Cowherd doesn't like that.
Yeah, probably not.
And then Matt Eberflus. Dalton said on this one again, like, this would have been a fun hire if you still had Micah Parsons, I think. Like, I think they still will, in my opinion. We'll get to that. But, like, I still think it's a good pickup for them. Mm-hmm. Mike Zimmer's been floating around the league for a while now.
I think he's run his course.
Yeah, like
it's kind of what it comes down to. Yeah.
I don't know who would really like a contending team that would need him, in my opinion.
Not really, I don't think. Yeah. Not as a defensive coordinator, at least. Yeah. Probably a guy's really good. Like, he's going to be a defensive assistant for a long time. One of those guys. It's like you look on a staff, and you're like, wait, Mike Zimmer's like the associate to the associate's head coach. Like, it's like, what is he doing there?
I can see him doing something like that. Yeah. So, like, we'll see. I think the coaching staff, in my opinion, did get an upgrade overall this year.
It's not McCarthy, and like again, there's something to like the staleness of something, and like you don't like they at least have some sort of ability to say we don't know for sure how this is going to go. With McCarthy, you knew how it was going to go.
Yeah.
If everything was perfect, he would get you to the divisional round and then shit his pants. And then last year, when everything wasn't perfect, they win however many games they won. So like, that's at least not going to probably be the case this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you're not really missing out on much. It's not like Mike McCarthy was taking you to the NFC Championship every year, and like, so it's not like you're like missing out. Like, oh, we don't have the coach that's going to take us there.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see again. Like, I think there's at least potential for this to be a good hire, but I'm just not sold at this point. But let's get into the offensive moves. Several to talk about here. They do have some losses here, mostly guys who are going to be replaceable for sure. Rico Dowdle had a good year statistically. Like, I think he was pretty okay considering their struggles around the ball in general. But they do lose him to Carolina. Cooper Rush is now the backup quarterback for the Ravens, which is so funny, by the way. They finally didn't have the like typical like let's just find a fast quarterback to put there behind Lamar Jackson and hope he doesn't have to play. It's kind of funny that they finally didn't do that whole thing they normally do. Brandon Cooks is back with the Saints. We already talked about him rejoining them. Those are the major losses, and if you want to say major, like barely major, but closest to major that they had. Not a lot of losses on the offensive side of the ball. They do re-sign Kevontae Turpin as the kick returner, slot gadgety guy. He's a good player for what he is. So good to see him get a deal there. And then they upgrade maybe, and I say maybe because I'm not confident of this, but they do bring in at least a couple more running backs, Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, who Miles Sanders has been pretty bad everywhere that he's been, or at least with Panthers since he left Philly, probably for good reason. Philly's offensive line had a lot to do with his success, I'm sure. and then Javonte Williams, who once upon a time looked like a future star before his knee injury kind of seems to have sapped a lot of what made him special. So we'll see if he can maybe get a little bit of that back here with the Cowboys. They also bring in Robert Jones along the offensive line and make two very interesting trades on offense here. They bring in George Pickens from my Pittsburgh Steelers for a third-round pick, presumably for 1 year, because I can't imagine they're going to pay him, CeeDee Lamb, and all these other guys. So I think it's going to be kind of a rental situation, in my opinion, which is interesting because, again, that means that this year is going to be really important for them to get their value out of him. We'll see if they can do that.
Which, again,
yes,
we'll talk about it on defense, but, like, why aren't you just signing your guys?
We'll talk about it. Joe Milton. Joe Milton is now the backup quarterback for this team with a trade with the Patriots, which was just kind of funny to me in general is the best way I can describe that. It's like, I don't want to say that it's nothing, but also it probably is. And it's just like a funny thing that the Patriots sort of got more value out of him by trading. I don't know. It's just funny. There's a lot of people who are like, they just didn't want to have a quarterback controversy. I'm like, shut the hell up. Anyone saying that, get out of here with that shit. Makes a couple cool throws in the preseason in one game against the Bills backups, and it's like, oh, I don't know, Drake may not be the shut up.
Yeah.
Anyway, they make those two trades. They extend Jake Ferguson to tight end, which I thought was also like, I don't have a problem with the extension at all because I think he's a good player, but it makes the pick of Schoonmaker that much weirder to me in the second round a couple years ago. It's like you took a second round tight end who's now definitely going to be just a backup at best. So like. That's a whole other issue, whatever. Because I don't think he's a good enough. Like, he's a fine blocker, but I don't think he's like that typical tight end too. It's like, oh, you can have him and him on the field at the same time. Like, I don't know if I really view him that way.
Yeah.
And then in the draft, they do bring in Tyler Booker in the first round, Jaden Blue, running back out of Texas, Johnny Cornelius, the right tackle for Oregon, and running back Phil Moff I threw in there too, just because the running back group is so kind of out there that I think it's worth bringing him up as a 7th-round pick. Overall, the offense is probably going to be better in terms of talent, but for me, it kind of comes back, and I'm sure I feel like Dalton, you kind of have a similar thought, but I want to get Casey's thoughts here actually first. But it feels like it's all for naught. Like, it feels like a lot of this is like, okay, like, you're trying to raise the floor of this offense a little bit, trying to make sure the passing game has two viable weapons outside of, like, Ferguson when he's healthy can be viable, but really CeeDee Lamb in the field at that point if you don't have George Pickens that you brought in. I don't know if it really matters that much at the end of the day, but what do you think, Casey?
So I love the Jake Ferguson extension. I
he's
think
a good player.
I think he's a solid tight end, great hands, physical player. Weirdly, I thought in their draft, to me, it was like they were kind of focusing on a run game or like a short distance game because with the Blue and with picking up Booker and Cornelius, like those aren't your pass rush guys, in my opinion, for Cornelius and Booker. Those are your like I think they're more of like they're going to knock some heads. They're going to get you in the pass game. I think Blue's going to be great out of the backfield. I mean, I think he had some great flashes in that game against Ohio State with some
really good better. Like, he's just going to be a really good pass catcher.
Yeah, like with his wheel routes. They better hope. I hate saying this, but like, I don't know how to say this without sounding kind of fucked up. But I hope Dak can stay healthy all year with the situation at quarterback there. Is like, I'm not saying that as like a dick. Like, I'm truly saying like
there's issues with it.
Yeah, there's trouble if Dak goes down this year. Like,
it might be fun if nothing else though. If Milton goes out there, it'll be fun to watch.
It could be,
just not for Cowboys fans, bro.
Yeah, like losing Cooper Rush could be a bad, like it could be one of the worst losses if Dak goes down, in my opinion. Like,
depends on what they get out of Milton. Yeah.
That happens. So I mean, the offense is confusing to me. I don't know if they have a direction. I don't know if they know what direction they're going in. Are they going to be like stick it to your face run game? Or are they like with their picking up Pickens and like I don't know what they're doing. Do the Cowboys know what they're doing? I don't know.
What do you think, Dalton?
Yeah, I mean, so when we start with the Cowboys, like one of the things is like thinking is like they mismanage talent a lot, but you know what they do really well? They draft really well.
Draft. And that's what makes me so mad, Dalton, is they draft all these good players, and they're like, I don't want to pay them.
Yeah.
And they have no depth.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's what happens. They draft good players, then those players become up for new contracts, and then instead of just signing them and being like prudent with it and trying to get good team-friendly deals, Jerry tries to play hardball to the last possible second, and then he ends up overpaying them. I mean, when your quarterback is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL for over a year straight, you mess that contract up big time.
It's incredible to think that he's
that's just not how the quarterback market is supposed to work. You're supposed to have the highest paid guy for like 3 weeks, and then by the end of the season, he is the 5th highest paid quarterback in the league. And no, they just completely bungled that.
And the thing that gets me is, like, at this point, because of the situation that he's in and because of how well he's paid, I almost feel like I have to defend Dak Prescott sometimes as someone who's never been like a huge Dak Prescott guy. Yeah. Because I think he's definitely like he's a fringe like back of the top 10 guy. Like he's in that category, a firm like tier 2, like you can win a Super Bowl with this guy at the right situation type of quarterback. But he's the highest paid quarterback in the league and has been so, like you said, for over a year. Yeah. He wasn't even like a rookie extension one where it's like, oh, this dude's insane. We have to give him all this money. This is his 3rd contract, and he's the highest paid quarterback for years. Josh Allen just re-upped with the Bills, and he's still not making as much as Dak Prescott is. That's just a failure of negotiating. It's just a failure of managing your cap and managing your roster. And, that's why, like, when him and Lamb and all these guys were starting to come up, I'm like, I don't think they're going to be able to keep them all because he's going to wait till September 1st, like you said, to sign all these guys, and then he's going to pay top of the market for a whole freaking year because it's September now. No one's beating your contract now. It's September. There's no time to beat the contract. Yeah. Like, you're waiting until the offseason at that point anyway.
Yeah. Most top-heavy roster in the league. It's either really good, highly paid people, guys on rookie contracts, and that's it. That's pretty much the entire roster. I mean, I think the offensive line is going to be very good. And I think that's kind of the only way Miles Sanders can be productive. But then again, I like the Jaden Blue draft pick. That could be interesting in that offense. I think he can give you
something. Yeah, it gives them some explosiveness at the running back position.
At least a third down back. I think he could be a really good third down scat back. But, I mean, you add Pickens for a year. Problem is they're going to have to sign Pickens long-term because they didn't draft a wide receiver.
You think that, but, like, how in the world are they going to do that?
Exactly.
If he's good, which if Dak Prescott plays all year and CeeDee Lamb is opposite him, as someone who is a fan of George Pickens' talent, and as long as he doesn't do anything incredibly stupid, which he will probably do at times,
big if.
He's going to get $30 million a year.
Yeah.
You can't pay him and see that you cannot pay 2 receivers. Like, you cannot be the Bengals without being the bank. Like, the Bengals at least have Joe Burrow, who's a tier above Dak Prescott at quarterback, and is making less than him, by the way. I'm going to say that again. You can't pay 2 receivers damn near $30 million. You can't do it.
They're paying what? They're going to be paying like 5 guys $200 million.
And they'd be lucky if they get the opportunity to do that. That's the thing. Like, because we're going to get to it in a second with the defense, but like, and you were saying about the offensive line, I think a fully healthy offensive line, they're probably pretty good. Tyler Guyton's hurt right now. Tyler Smith is dealing with like tendonitis in his knee or something like that. Tyler Booker's been banged up. He's supposed to be back for the regulars. They might not have the full offensive line for any amount of time this year.
Depth. And there's a lot of money invested in that offensive line.
And draft capital invested.
Yes.
Like, this team cannot be both like built properly and healthy at the same time. They simply won't do it. And it's like fate is just smacking Jerry Jones upside the head every year. Like, hey, do something different, or we're going to keep doing this shit to you. And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And then Dak gets hurt, or like this year it'll be like, I hope it's not anybody, but like it'll probably be like CeeDee's going to go down like week 2, and it's like George Pickens show, let's go. Yeah. And it's going to be fun like 3 times out of the 17 games. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, that's what you worry about with this team. Because, like, outside of those 2, right, so you have George Pickens, obviously, you know, as an outside receiver. Lamb is going to be in the slot a lot of the time. That's where he does his best work. Jalen Tolbert is fine, I guess. Then you're getting into Jonathan Mingo, who just hurt himself, by the way, in the preseason. So you're not even going to get anything out of that 4th-round pick you set on fire. Jalen Brooks is unproven. Kevontae Turpin's a gadget player and maybe a fun offensive piece sometimes, but he's not a full-time receiver. Ryan Flournoy? Who's that? I don't even like if I don't know him, he doesn't play. Like
I've never heard of him.
So again, they're just so top heavy that they could win, and we're going to get into it. Like, well, I'm not going to give my actual range, but they could win 12 games again like they did a couple years ago, or they could lose 15 because if everybody gets, or if even a couple of key players gets hurt, what does this team look like? I don't know. So yeah, the offensive moves, I don't hate any of them really, but it's just like, to what end? Like you give up a 3rd-round pick for George Pickens, that makes you think, oh, you're going to re-sign him, but why? Why would you do that? How, why, and when? Like, if you're going to re-sign him right now and be like, hey, I'll give you $28 million right now. Take it or leave it for like 4 years. Because then at least, like, he won't – if he has a great season, you're not going to have to pay him 34 then. Like, do that. But that's right. The Cowboys don't fucking do that, guys. That's the problem with this entire thing.
No,
they're just like, no, we'll wait till September. It's like, shut the fuck up, Jerry. Retire. Go sit in whatever fucking house you in Arkansas or wherever the hell you live, and just stay there the rest of until you pass away. That's that. If you want to see the Cowboys win, that's what he's got to do. We know it's not going to happen, but this was. Anyway, now that we've ranted enough about that, let's talk about the defense, which is only going to bring more rants probably, considering what we're about to talk about. So they lose DeMarcus Lawrence at edge and Chauncey Golston as well. Good, Lawrence aging but still an effective player. Golston is a good depth player. Lose corner Jordan Lewis, who had a career year last year, honestly, in a lot of ways. So, like, that kind of stings. But, again, how are you going to pay Jordan Lewis, $10 million a year, whatever he got, $12 million a year? You don't have money to pay anybody, according to what Jerry says. They do re-sign Osa Digizua to a good actually, one of the only good contracts they've signed in recent memory. $20 million a year for him is totally good for this defensive tackle market. Like, I have no problem with that at all. They signed Dante Fowler Jr. to come back, who just shows up here like every 2 years, it feels like, just plays well. Peyton Turner, because he loves his former 1st-round picks that are just absolute dog shit, just terrible. So that's fun. You bring him in here. Solomon Thomas, not a bad player, but also failed 1st-round pick in the past. And then they draft Donovan Ezraku at edge in the 2nd round, Savone Revel, who, guess what? He has injury stuff, so let's hope he's all right. Linebacker Shamar Jones' depth, and then Jay Toya, who might be their best run-defending defensive tackle because they whiffed on the Mozzie Smith pick. That's what they did on defense. That's just not enough.
No. My first thought, was lackluster. You got rid of, like you said, with the Chauncey Golston. I thought that was a huge loss for him because he went to the Giants. He just stayed in division.
He's a good depth player. He can run a little bit.
I thought that was a bigger move than it should than it got up. But I don't see much in this defense. And then Michael, as Jerry likes to call him, who knows what's going to happen with him? I mean, I know we ran about Parsons, so I'm not going to do it, but it's just that is the biggest question mark right now on this defense. It feels like you can't move on without knowing what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, because I think if you do have Parsons and you put Parsons on that defense, especially I think Ezraku, I was lower on him than a lot of people, but I still think you pair him with Parsons, you can have a decent pass rush. I do think I love the Ravel pick as long as he's healthy. I think you add him. That secondary can be one of the best secondaries in the league. Potentially. When you think of if Diggs can get consistent, but Malik Hooker's solid. You got a lot of talent back there. Deron Bland, again, has to get consistent. But I think Ravel, the nice thing is whoever in that secondary is struggling, you can legitimately play him, I think, in all 5 spots on the secondary. I think he can play either corner. I think worst case scenario, he becomes a safety, a very, very good safety.
Rangy, free safety type, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot you can do with him. And I think he's going to be a really good addition. I think if you can get a good pass rush, which again, you have to take care of Parsons, and you have to, at this point, it's not just about like giving him all the money. You have to convince him that you're a serious franchise. Because like that was the thing with like Tank Lawrence has been talking about it since he left. Like this is just a clown show. And Parsons' experiences seem to be reflecting that. And it's like, yeah, if you can't convince Parsons to come back, I think the defense becomes a lot more at risk of being pretty bad. Because I think with Parsons, you're predicated on a really good pass rush, good enough against the run. I think you're going to generate a lot of sacks and turnovers. That's kind of the whole way that defense works is sacks and turnovers, negative plays. But if you don't have that, you have a below average unit.
Yeah, and I want to get Casey's thoughts here in a second, but I just want to chime in with the Parsons thing. I think what he should do, to be honest with you, because we talked about like Jerry likes to do this thing where he wants to be in the news cycle, he wants to be seen. So he plays it up. He's like, we're negotiating, we're gonna take this, and he does it in September, late August. He signs these guys to way above market and all this shit. Micah's one of the few players in the league that I think can basically be like, no, we're not playing your game at this point. Like, we're not doing this shit. I'm not gonna be part of your news cycle. I'm not gonna be part of your shenanigans. I'm not playing for you. Like, it's over. So figure it out, basically. Like, you can either trade me, we can sit this thing out. I don't have to play games. I'm young enough. I have enough talent. Something like I'll figure it out. He's in a unique position to basically give the huge giant middle finger to Jerry Jones and be like, you can do this with other people. You're not doing this with me. And I honestly, like, I hate to see a guy like miss a season or do anything crazy like that, but like that might be what needs to happen for this Cowboys team to wake up at some point. Like for Jones to be like, oh man, maybe I can't be operating like this. Because if I'm Parsons, why would I want to sign here at this point? If what he said is true, right? Which it seems like it is for the most part, and none of it seems hard to believe for me. There is no reason he should want to sign back here. I don't care how much money they offer him. Whoever he ends up ending up on will pay him similar amount of money, if not just as much.
Yeah, he'll be the highest paid player.
Like, yeah, he will be the newest highest paid non-quarterback. Like, that's going to happen whether it's for the Cowboys or not. I wouldn't want it to be here then, if this is how they're going to operate. Because not like even if you get your money, what happens when the next guy they drafted who's really good? What happens when Tyler Booker, if he's a great player, he's a great pass protector right off the bat, if he develops into this great offensive guard? What if they're like, well, I don't know, man. Like, we're going to have to wait till, we're going to draw this out for that's what they're just going to keep doing this thing. You're not going to know for sure if you're going to have your guys with you or not. Like, that's just a tough way to live as a guy that is as good as Parsons is and seemingly wants to be great and wants to be on a great team. It's tough to do business like that.
Yeah. The thing that sucks for him is that he's on the 5th-year option right now, right?
I believe this is either his 5th-year option year or it's his 4th. I can't remember. I have to pull it up.
This is his 5th year, apparently. But they didn't tag him, right?
Yeah.
This is the 5th-year option.
Well, they picked up his 5th-year option. So
yeah.
This is the last year of his deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So they could tag him next year, potentially, couldn't they?
They can. Yeah, he'd be taggable. Like, if he doesn't play it all this year, I think his contract would just toll as well. So he would still be under contract next year. Because when you miss an entire season for sitting out, your contract doesn't like expire; it tolls. So especially if you're still on your rookie contract, like if he was on a franchise tag and just never signs it, doesn't work that way because they could tag you again, but they could just choose not to the second time because he's under contract still. He can't if he sits out in a full year, he wouldn't get free agency or anything like that, or like they wouldn't even have to tag him. So. He'd have to force their hand by being like, why would you sit here and not have me on the field when you could get multiple draft picks for me and move on? Like, that's what the conversation would have to be.
I feel like he'd almost have to play a game for him to have.
Like, he probably would have to play, a little bit and then be like, well, I'm hurt. Sorry, pretty much, which we've seen guys do that before. So it's like, that's pretty much what would have to happen. So I hope they just, right. I just hope they figure he needs to figure himself out, Jerry Jones. Like he can't keep doing this Because the sad part is like he's how old now? Like in his late 80s, early 90s now. I'm pretty sure.
Probably. He could be 150
Like,
for all we know.
Yeah, for all we know. If he really cares about winning, which I don't think he does as much as he says he does, right? But if he does care about winning, he should be doing everything in his power to just make the best team possible. Don't worry about like trying to win the offseason or stay in the headlines. Just sign your freaking dudes when you can to below market deals, because that's the benefit of drafting well, is you get to sign these guys early. You don't have to fight for them for agency. And try to go on a run here with a quarterback that's good enough, with an offensive line that if it's healthy is good enough, with a defense that if it has freaking Micah Parsons on it is probably good enough. But they don't do it. They don't do it.
Yeah.
So again, like I don't really know what else there's to say. Like the run defense for this team, by the way, for the past 3 years, maybe the worst in the league. Period. Like,
and the red zone defense is terrible.
Yeah, that's a consequence of being a bad run defense as well.
Yeah.
Like, they just can't stop the run. Mozzie Smith, they messed around with him. He lost weight his first year in the league because they wanted to be a 3-tech, and that didn't work. So they added weight back on. And he's not good enough. Like, they just do stuff to get in their own way constantly. Mm-hmm. And it's different things. It's not even like one thing here or there. It's just they find other ways to mess it up for themselves.
I mean, it's hard to be good against the run too when your middle linebacker is built like a big safety.
Yeah, and he's the best one they got easily still.
Yeah, he's very good. He's a coverage guy.
Yeah, and he's a guy that's a rangy tackle. He's not going to stuff the run. He's going to go chase the running backs down.
Yeah,
they don't have a balanced defense. And like, yes, you can get away with having a great pass rush and takeaways if your run defense isn't great. But the NFL is trending towards running the ball more. And you play in a division with Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles. You play in a division with the Giants run game that should be pretty solid this year because they have talented backs. You play with the Commanders who, regardless of whether it's Robert Robinson Jr., who might be cut now or traded, or Corey Krosky-Merritt, whoever the hell it is, Jaden Daniels is there. So, of course, they're going to run the ball well. You can't be this bad in run defense in this division and expect to compete. But they've done nothing to make me think that that's going to not be the case again. And that's just unconscionable to me. So, yeah. Let's talk about expectations. And if you've been listening up to this point, you probably assume they're not very high, and it's because they shouldn't be. I don't know how you could possibly have high expectations for this team. My only expectation is that they figure out a way to get this Micah Parsons deal done, make him happy again. And they have to hope that Dak is healthy and ready to go and can play a full season. Their expectation should be to just compete for a wild card spot. I think asking anything more of this team or expecting any more would just be disingenuous. Like that's where I'm at with them.
Yeah. I think they can get to double digits, but like everything has to go right. Like they are a house of cards right now, and it shouldn't be this way because, as we've said, this team drafts so well.
Yeah,
and if you're drafting as well as them, I mean, like take another team in their division, they draft about as well as the Eagles do. Like, if we're being honest, pound for pound, like they're drafting about as well as the Eagles. Just every other aspect of roster building, they just shit the bed on, whereas the Eagles are about as crafty with it as any team in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I want to get your thoughts on their expectations, Casey, but just to run down the list. Now, I'm not going to say the last 2 first-round picks because it's too early for either of them. Obviously, Booker hasn't played yet. Guyton is still a young player. Mozzie Smith has been a bust so far in the first round, but before that, Tyler Smith in the first round, Micah Parsons in the first round, CeeDee Lamb in the first round. They didn't have a first-round pick in 2019. Leighton Vander Esch, who before he was hurt, great player in the first round. Tom Charlton, not so great, but Ezekiel Elliott the year before that, Byron Jones, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick. That's what 3 misses out of 10 years of drafting in the first round.
That's that's great.
Teams don't do that.
Most
really.
of those years picking in the 20s.
Yeah, they're not picking in the top 10 really any of those years, except for Elliott, I think, right? If you're drafting that well in the first round, especially the first round, where you can't afford to miss on the first round picks constantly, like a lot of teams do, unfortunately. For you to not even get to the conference championship round, when you hit on a quarterback in the 4th freaking round.
Yeah.
And not even he was good for 2 years. No, he's your franchise quarterback. You can't get to the conference championship game. in almost a decade of him as your starter. I don't know what you say about that. So, but what are your expectations, Casey? What do you think?
I mean, my wants and my expectations are different. My want for this team obviously is Jerry to get Jerry's ego out of the way.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's chasing after right now. He's not chasing after making this a winning football team. He's thinking he can throw money at the problem or lack thereof, throw money at a problem and fix it. But that's not going to happen here. But my expectations for this team is figure out what you're going to do on defense, obviously. I don't want to beat the dead horse of Parsons. Figure out what you're going to do with that. Like Shane was saying, that run defense is terrible. Red zone defense. I mean, they had Diggs when he had that year where he was having like 1,000 interceptions. But other than that, their takeaways, their numbers haven't been that great. Like, this could be an easily top 10 defense. They just don't have the direction or like that. They need an anchor. So my expectations is for Matt Eberflus to come in here, get this defense going with or without Parsons, set a foundation. Offense, good luck. I don't know what to say on offense. I don't know what to expect with this offense. If you're going to throw out Dak and then a hodgepodge of guys out there and then hopefully he doesn't get hurt with Joe Milton as your backup, I don't expect much out of this offense.
And they might be the one team in the league, or maybe two, but really one, where they might have a true like liability in the running game. Where like most teams have at least backs who are capable, who I'm confident can at least allow you to do what you want to do in the running game. They might not help it a ton, but they're going to get the job done. They might not have that. Like if Javonte Williams is as cooked as he looked last year, and Miles Sanders is Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue's not an every down back. Like you can't ask him to carry this running game. I don't even know if you should get more than 50 carries, honestly, as a rookie. Like you probably don't want him to have to do that.
I don't think he should. Yeah,
they might not have anything at running. They might not have any running game whatsoever. Like that's a real possibility.
I mean, Sanders, I think, can get you what's blocked at least.
Yeah, for the most part.
If the offensive line stays healthy, but again,
which it already isn't right now. So let's see if it gets that way.
It's a house card. It's the only way to put it.
Let's do our win total range real quick. We move on to the good teams, or at least last year's good teams in this division. I'm just going to set the floor at 7 for myself because they did it last year. I think a very similar outcome is possible. I think there is enough talent on this team at the top end that as long as not all of them get hurt, and Micah Parsons is on this football team, which I'm just going to say he is for now because it's really hard for me to say he isn't going to be because it's just insane to think he won't be. But that's what happens with the Cowboys, that they make you think about stuff like this. Like I thought Dak Prescott was going to get traded because of how they were handling his deal. Instead, they're like, here's just $60 million, Dak. Here you go.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think 7 is the floor. And then the ceiling is probably still like 11 or 12 games. That's the sad part with this team, is if everyone stays healthy for the most part and the offense works, because, again, they're keeping the offensive coordinator in place, so the offense is going to be the same. I think that's part of why he got the job, by the way. I think they wanted Dak to have stability and, like, know what he's doing with this offense coming back from injury. Then they can win 11 or 12 games. Now, do I think they're going to do anything after they do that? Not really, because I think the run defense is so bad that I don't think it has really any upside to be good. So if they go up against an Eagles team or even a Commanders team in the playoffs or a Lions team, God forbid, they're not going to be able to stop them. Like I still think they're going to be able to do it, but they can be a successful team this year in the win column. But again, I don't know if their outcome after that is going to be any different, though.
I'm a little lower on the floor. I have 5 wins as the floor.
I think that's fair.
I can picture it being really ugly. Like Parsons is gone.
Yeah.
They're 3-5 at the deadline, and they're like, well, we already had to get rid of Micah. This team's not good. We have more injuries. We got to blow it up. Maybe we trade Dak at the deadline to
God.
That's like desperate for a quarterback winning games.
Man.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of who that would be.
Like it gets really dark. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think the Dak trade stuff's kind of dumb, but I mean, if they do not resolve this Parsons situation, I do think you're going to have a serious locker room revolt.
Yeah.
And I think that's gonna. I mean, it might be an untenable situation where they have to like really blow it up. Maybe not trade Dak, blow it up, but like, I mean, Pickens could get moved, being on a 1-year deal. Someone might.
It'd be so
try to
funny.
rent him.
Steelers just trade back for him like a 5th-round pick. It'd be so funny. It'd be so freaking funny.
Yeah.
No,
but then again, the ceiling is 12 wins.
Yeah, I
mean, in a perfect world, you have a very good offensive line, and you have a top 10 quarterback, and arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league, possibly. Like one of the best.
I mean, it's going to be hard to
top 3 wide receivers.
I think you could get there, but
like legitimately, I mean, like it could work pretty well pretty quickly, especially if you get Parsons back and the defense is solid. Like even if the defense is very up and down throughout the year, because I think even with Parsons and even if Eberflus elevates things a little bit, I think the nature of their defense, because they're so reliant on negative plays, I think they're going to be up and down from week to week. There's going to be weeks where they have, they generate 4 turnovers and just absolutely dominate. And there's going to be weeks where they get torched like that game against San Francisco where they just got stomped on primetime TV. I think was that last year, 2 years ago.
I mean, it's every time they played each other in the last like 5 years, it feels like. So, just whichever one, Yeah, Casey. Woo. We'll get to your team eventually. No, but it's again like, I totally get it. If you kind of in the same boat, Casey, or you any different from us on that regard?
My floor for them is 7 wins. I know we talked about how crappy this roster is, but I still think they have a few good guys on this team, or a few standout guys. I mean, with CD and Jake Ferguson on that offense. I know I'm a Jake Ferguson stan, it sounds like now. I think they can still –
good player. Him and Dak have always been really good.
Yeah, I think that they can get 7 wins easily. I still think this team could win 12.
Again, same thing.
Yeah, 7-12.
It's going to be really interesting. They're going to be one of the more just high-profile teams, as they always are, but like high-variance teams as well. Like that's kind of what – it almost feels like they're trying to do like the Saints thing in like the mid-2010s, where it's like the defense is very, very volatile, but occasionally is good, and then the offense is just trying to go out there and score 35 points. And some weeks it'll work and some weeks it won't. Like that's kind of what it feels like, right? So especially if they get banged up at all, they're going to have to do that type of thing. Let's get into the Washington Commanders, the surprise team of the 2024 season in pretty much every way you could imagine. So, obviously very interesting to see that happen with this team when, to be fair, most people had them as a bottom 5 team in the NFL. I can't say that I'm any different. I did not call this by any means, so I'm not going to try to pretend that I did. But I do wonder a little bit if they are more primed for regression than they are progression. Not necessarily because I think a lot of the key things that happened last year are going to suddenly change, but it's just hard in the NFL to keep up the momentum like this that they had last year.
Weird 2024 Texans vibes.
Right. And that's kind of the thing is like, I don't think it's going to be that like, and we'll get into it, but Jaden Daniels suddenly isn't what he was last year. I don't think it's going to be the offense is suddenly like tremendously bad or anything like that. But I think they got away with a lot of things last year and they kind of lucked out in a lot of ways. Bears. It just feels like they might still be in line to be, like stay as a good football team, but they might not have the same level of success that they had last year. And it's hard to do that when you made the NFC title game. So like, asking this team to repeat as, runner-ups in the championship game is probably tough, even if you do like what they did last year and believe they can keep it up. So let's get into the coaching staff changes. Oh, wait, there isn't any because they actually did it right this time. They don't have to worry about that. I do think they got it right with the hires they had. Quinn really brought a semblance of professionalism to this team, and the defense, while not very talented, was at least manageable last year. They were a solid unit. I think he can continue to kind of raise the floor until they can add some more talent to that group. Very much, as you'll see in a minute here, focused on the offensive side to keep building that up with Jaden Daniels there. But No notable coaching staff changes here. Let's get into the offensive moves here. So they did lose a couple guys that were productive for them last year. You lose Diami Brown, who's now a Jaguar. Cornelius Lucas was a good backup tackle to have, and just a guy that's kind of always been around and always been able to play well when asked to, but never been a full-time starter, really. Olamide Zaccheaus is now a Bear. He looks pretty good so far in the preseason. Pretty good for them last year as well, to be fair. So they lose him in that offensive group. They do bring back Mr. Hail Mary, Noah Brown. They do bring him back at receiver, so that's good. Marcus Mariota returns as the backup quarterback for this team. Really good fit for that offense.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz comes back as well. Really kind of defined the aging curve there. Really good season. That now going to be 34 years old, 33 last year. And this is the first move I want to stop and talk about for a second because I don't know how to feel about it. I think, Casey, you know where I'm going with this. They trade for Deebo Samuel, who at his best has been one of the most explosive players with the ball in his hands in the NFL. But he's been banged up a lot, partly because of the way he plays. And he's now, I believe 30 years old or close to it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's getting there.
Yeah, and he did not look like himself last year. I'll be honest with you. When this move was made, I thought for a second, I was like, okay, I like the idea of getting a guy with his skill set in here. And then I thought about it, I'm like, I don't know if this is an upgraded receiver for this team, especially if he misses time like he tends to do. Diami Brown had some frustrating moments last year, but he was a very good outside receiver guy with them. I think Zaccheaus has probably as much juice as Samuel does at this point, unfortunately, at least speed. Not the break tackle ability, not the overall ability, but more explosive probably at this point, unfortunately. I don't know if this is necessarily an upgrade to the receiver room. And now you have the Terry McLaurin situation, which I don't think he's going to miss games. I don't think he's going to get dragged in the regular season, but it's still a thing. It's pay that dude, man. What are you talking about? This guy's dealt with so much shit from your organization. I don't care what he wants to get paid at this point. Just give him the money. Receivers getting paid a lot of money. Freaking DK Metcalf is making $30 million a year. I don't want to hear it about Terry McLaurin asking for $30 million a year. I just don't know if that's an upgrade.
Yeah.
I want to hear Casey first here.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah. So as a Niners fan, I do I love Deebo as much as frustrating as it was sometimes with him, with his off the field comments and shit like that. It was cool but frustrating. His injuries are the big thing here.
Yeah.
Even I was watching the game last night. I know that they keep telling him that they're going to use him as a wide receiver mainly, and he's not going to be out of the backfield. The first play they ran with him was a freaking jet sweep. Come on, bro. I saw the play, and it literally, I was like, oh, this, you could just throw this next to any 49ers jet sweep that he ran, and it looked identical. It was he's going to be the same Deebo that he was in San Fran, in my opinion. Will he be the same, as far as, his explosiveness and everything? No. But he's still going to be a decent player for them, but I don't know if it was the right move for this team. I think Deebo could have went somewhere else and it made more sense, but for this team, I don't know if it necessarily makes sense. I think they only have room for one aging guy on their team. I think Zach Ertz takes that role. So I don't know. I know Deebo's. I looked up. He's 28, but in the league, he's an older guy.
Is he 29 now?
Yeah, 29. Yeah. So
he's got miles on those tires, bro.
Yeah, for how he was used, he's 35 in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. I think he could. All-purpose yards, I think Deebo could hit 800 this year. Realistically, it'd probably be closer to 400 or 500 all-purpose yards. I don't know if he's going to give them what they're wanting. So we'll see.
Would be funny if the Brian Robinson thing doesn't work out and he ends up gone, and Deebo ends up completing this Cordero Patterson arc that he's on and just becomes their running back.
Dude, let it happen. I think
they're the same player. I mean, in so many ways, they're very similar.
when he gets the ball, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're
sorry.
I was going to say, I actually do like the move. I think he's a great fit for Cliff's offense. I think, in an offense that is really reliant on generating explosive plays from creating opportunities after the catch. I think he is an after the catch weapon that I don't know if Washington had last year. I mean, McLaurin to an extent, but I think you want him operating
not his best role, yeah.
Yeah, you want him taking the top off your defense and commanding, a safety shaded to him every play, which is again why for the Debo thing to work, you have to re-sign Terry McLaurin, and I don't get what they're doing there. And also you kind of have to sign Brian Robinson Jr. because you can't have Debo. You don't want a situation where you need Debo to be a big part of your running game.
Yeah. Well, it seems like Robinson is either going to be cut or traded, so he will not be on this team most likely from all reports. So it seems like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's going to be the guy there potentially, the 7th-round pick, who I know a lot of people liked. He did get cheated out of his last season by the NCAA, so it's been a while since he's put out tape, but he looked good in the preseason game the other night. I think that might be their move. And frankly, running backs, who knows?
You can't have Austin Eckler in the year 2025 being a 25 carry a game guy.
Yeah, not going to happen. I think some combination of the guys they have there will be enough. But just to give you guys an idea, though. But, they have a bunch of backs. It's just no one that is a standout guy at this point. To give you guys an idea, though, so among his seasons where he's played at least 13 games, okay? Last season, he played 15 games. He has career lows in those seasons. He has 2020 where he didn't play at all, basically, because he only played 7 games. But he had career low in receptions. He had only 3 touchdowns on the season through the air. And this is the biggest thing for me is his rushing role has obviously been a big part of his game, especially that 2021 season where he had 20-something touchdowns or whatever it was, or 14 touchdowns, but 2,000 yards almost of offense. He last year had 42 rushing attempts, only averaged 3.2 yards per carry. I feel like the explosiveness element that he's brought for his whole career just isn't quite as high as it used to be. Is it better than a lot of guys still? Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be a guy you can give the amount of touches to that justify the amount of money he's getting paid here on that last year's deal. That's my concern with it is it probably an upgrade over the Miami Browns of the world and Zacchaeus? Probably in an overall sense. But you're paying admittedly not much of a draft pick. I forget what the exact compensation was. But then you're paying this guy money that you could have maybe given to someone who was more of a real wide receiver to go pair with Terry. So but it's going to be interesting. Again, it just depends on what version you get of him. But,
I will say that his stats last year reflect having to have Debo as your key feature in the
That is fair. Yeah, he was getting outside of Kittle, really, I guess.
But I'm saying
receiver,
receiver, running back, that they knew he was probably going to get the ball somehow, and they played their defense against it, and he did not produce. So I agree with Dalton in the sense that they do need to make sure they have those backup guys or those role guys that can fill in, because he's not going to be able to be that star guy.
Yeah. Let's get into the other moves they made on offense real quick. Oh, go ahead, Dalton.
Before we move on to defense, though, we should mention one thing they low-key did this offseason that I think is huge for them to avoid regressing is they did clean up the offensive line. Love the
That's what I was about to get into. Yeah, I wanted to get into we have a couple more offensive moves. And that's
and Josh Connerly. Great pick.
Yes, I love what they did with the offensive line. I think Tunsil gives them a bona fide, true top 5 pass protector in the sport at left tackle. You get Connerly in there, who I think is going to develop into a really good tackle, probably on the right side now that they brought in Tunsil, but he's looked really good in the preseason so far. I think he's going to be, if he's not already going to start, it's going to be very soon. Right now, he's slated to be the backup right tackle behind Andrew Wiley. I don't think that sticks for very long. I think at some point he replaces him, if not the start of the season, shortly after. Cosme, when he gets back, that's going to be a great offensive line. Biadasz is a fine center. Brandon Coleman, I think, fits in as a guard now instead of having to play tackle. I think he's a better player at that position. Like all these guys, like this offensive line is going to be, if everyone's healthy, a very, very good unit.
Which is important because you don't want Jaden Daniels scrambling. Because when Jaden Daniels scrambles,
he dies.
Doesn't have it. Yeah, he just doesn't care about his body.
In the preseason game, he took a hit last night.
Last night.
They asked him, like, afterwards, like, why didn't you go down? He's like, I want to score. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that, Jaden. It's August, bro.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Why is he playing in preseason, though?
I mean, granted, I know he's a second-year player, but, like, he showed enough last. I think we can let him sit in the second preseason game at this point.
You know, give him a series, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Like then again, Joe Burrow was out there getting annihilated because he was running around like an idiot. I don't know what the fuck that was about. I still can't figure out what's going on there.
That's Zach Taylor, bro. That's Zach Taylor.
Leave it to the Bengals to finally play their starters in the preseason a little bit just to get their feet wet so they're not 0-3 to start the year every fucking year, only for Joe Burrow to almost die in the preseason.
Yeah.
Like, do you know the Bengals are so we'll save it for later, but like that's a whole other conversation.
I think this is his last year in Cincinnati.
Listen,
hold on. All right, we're not going to say that.
Yeah, we're not going to
move on. All right, what the hell was that?
Scary.
They're cooked.
I kind of agree, but yes, that'll be later. This
Commanders' offensive line,
they're pretty good. They did bring in Jalen Lane at receiver and Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt, who might be a starter for them now, as we said earlier. So that's interesting. Let's get into the defensive moves because this was it was something, I would say. The defense is kind of where I get a little concerned. Lost interior defensive lineman Jonathan Allen, let him go. He's now Viking. Safety Jeremy Chin, who was pretty good for them last year, moves on. Dante Fowler Jr., by far their best pass rusher, weirdly enough, now playing for the Cowboys again. It's interesting. Benjamin St-Juste, who is one of the worst outside corners I've ever seen. Slot corner is probably okay, but they didn't need him there, so that was kind of the issue with him. They lose all those guys. They re-sign Cleveland Farrell, Dalton's favorite player, I'm sure. They bring back Noah Monogany, and then they sign. This is the one that I want to start with because I cannot figure out what the hell is going on with this. They gave Javon Kinlaw 3 years, $45 million. I don't know if I would have given Javon Kinlaw $15 million total for 3 years, let alone a year on a 3-year contract. Still can't figure out what that's about, but okay.
They love overpaying them South Carolina boys. That's what it is.
I guess so. They bring Von Miller in, which, I mean, he was pretty good last year with the Bills, but like I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that at this point. Jonathan Jones, like the depth or the age of those two combined is like pretty sure like 65 years old, so that's cool. They bring in Dietrich Wise, the interior, Will Harris at safety, and they draft Trey Amos, so I think it was a very good pick for them at corner, and then take a depth linebacker, Kane Medrano. I think this is where this team faltered a little bit, where I think as much as the offense did need reinforcements and they put a lot of effort to do that, I think expecting Dan Quinn to just kind of make shit up again on defense might not be the move. Like you might have wanted to do a little bit more. And I really like the Trey Amos pick. I do. I think he's a good cornerback for them. And I think he'll be very good. But I don't think if that might be your best addition, especially long term. And I don't know if that's enough for a team that really kind of skated by barely on defense last year. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's not a great unit. I mean, again, like you look at that roster and average, like you hope
it's average.
Hope and pray it is average. Like if they can give up 24 a game, you'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. You don't know what you're going to get from like Marshawn Lattimore, who was terrible when he was traded there last year. Awful. Now he was banged up because he always is, but like if he's healthy, maybe he's fine. Mikey Sanders still goes to nickel most likely, which is great because I think he was really honestly good at outside corner last year, which I didn't think was going to be the case if he had to play it, but he was good there. I think he'll be even better than nickel. You hope that Amos can be the other starter. It looks like he's slotted in there right now. I think the safeties are, at least Quan Martin's interesting. I kind of liked him more as a slot though, so I'm interested in him as a free safety. But again, the best player on this defense I don't even know who to name. Is it Bobby Wagner still? Just because of what he does in the run game, but like he can't cover, like he can't really run anymore. Like, he's smart in coverage, but he's not guarding any actual player. He's just kind of running around out there trying to desperately get into position. Like, is that your best defensive player right now? I don't know. Like,
Deron Payne.
Yeah, maybe Deron Payne, but like he's kind of been underwhelming for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he's not a pass rusher anymore. He's
no,
just
and
a
is it
pure
is it the 20 snaps a game you'll get from Von Miller? Is that the best player you get?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know.
Yeah. I saw Vaughn and Bobby sitting on the sideline together, chopping it up last night, and I was like, dude.
You guys are 70 years old.
That's what I was saying. I was like, is this like a retirement home right now? Like, what's going on?
Which is funny because the Commanders used to do that shit back in like the 2000s, if you guys remember. Like, they just sign all these old guys, or like fucking Donovan McNabb for some reason, and like think it would work. And this time they're at least good in doing that. So I guess it's better.
It sells tickets,
but like,
and jerseys.
I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, year 2 Sanistril could be interesting.
I do think so, for sure.
I like that. Yeah, I like it. He loves to hit.
He's great, really good player.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I think you're really hoping that you can be just good enough against the run early in games that your offense jumps out to a lead, and you just benefit from teams being forced to be extremely one-dimensional and having to pass to keep up with your offense. That's really all you can hope for. But like, if you're in a tight game where teams can run an actual like normal balanced offense, they just don't have the talent to like actually play well.
And I know it's an extreme example because we'll get to them in a second here, but the Eagles are so dominant in the run game, especially. But like, they got freaking boat raced in the NFC title game with the defense that arguably might have had more talent on it than this one does.
Yeah,
like you could argue that. Like, it's definitely close, and the fact that that's the case, it's tough to ask this defense to be like better than like the 24th best defense.
And like, and the only reason it worked as well as it did last year is because the offense was scoring at such a high clip.
And not only scoring at a higher clip, but like they were scoring so consistently on drives. Like they were not getting like 3 and outs. They weren't getting any of that. Like, they were either driving the ball into field goal range and kicking it, or getting a touchdown a lot of the time, like at a very, very high clip. And that's just not always translatable year to year. Like, it just isn't. Like, Jaden Daniels could be the same caliber of player next year, and they just might not be as successful on offense because of a number of things, right? And if they're not, that falls back on the defense more then, and I think that's how you get a kind of unstable floor and ceiling situation for this team. Like, that's kind of where I'm at.
You can't bank on the offense scoring 30 points a game.
No, it's just not a good. I just look at the Bengals, man. Like, do you want to be the Bengals? Nobody wants to be the Bengals. The Bengals don't want to be the Bengals.
They're the Bengals with a better offensive line.
Yeah, they're the Bengals if they had like an even more mobile quarterback and like an offensive line that wasn't completely made up of nobody. Yeah. Like, that's pretty much what it is. And the defense is slightly better because they have a defensive coach. Like, that's literally what it is. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. And with this defense, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Von Miller's going to do. The Javon Kinlaw one is –
Javon Kinlaw is not a $50 million a year player.
I think, like, I think he is the winner in all of this because I think his last year in San Francisco and then last year with the Jets, he is at his peak of what he's going to do. He had like 4 sacks in San Fran, like 4 or 5 with the Jets. And then he had like some solo time. Like, that's what you're going to get out of him. He wasn't a first round guy where he was drafted. So he
doesn't have the play strength, man. Just doesn't. Like, I don't know. It's a weird one. Let's get into expectations for them real quick. I think mine is very simple, so I'll start. Just win enough games to be in the wild card, at least chase again, and just don't backslide entirely. Like, don't let this be a like Giants 2023 coming from 2022 situation. Don't let it be the completely fall apart season that feels like it's at least possible, but I'm not going to predict per se. Like, that should be the expectation, is be competitive again, try to get back in the playoffs again, have Jaden Daniels get even more comfortable in the NFL, see if you can do enough on defense to make this team win double-digit games, and go from there. Like, but you can't have this huge backslide that we've seen at times with teams that kind of show up out of nowhere. So that's really what I think the expectations are for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I think not getting worse is the biggest thing. Maintain the momentum that you built last year. I think competing for the NFC East is still something that you should be striving for this year, considering how close they were. Also, like, there's the whole NFC voodoo magic where no one has won that division 2 years in a row in like 20 years.
There's something about it. Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know what it is. So I mean, they're the best candidate to win it
if that holds.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, like, that they didn't get better in the offseason.
At least defensively, especially.
Yeah.
But what are your expectations, Casey?
I literally just put 2 words for my notes here. I said stay relevant. And I think that just encapsulates everything. Yeah. Like, I know Daniels, just a popular term, sophomore slump, like, keep him in it. I think he just seems different. I don't think he's he could regress. I'm not going to say he's not, but he seems like a guy that's not – he has that it factor. Like, some guys in the NFL, they get their first taste of the NFL, and he was one of those guys that loved it, and I think he's going to keep going for it. So just stay relevant. I think no real moves on the coaching staffs, like we said. So I think as a Commanders fan, you have to be feeling really good right now where this team is at. Very optimistic, but also temper yourself. I don't know if this is the Super Bowl year. I think it was a magic run last year, but I think expectations for this team is playoffs, wild card, possibly win the division. I don't think that's out of the question for them, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Tend to agree. Let's do Win Total Range real quick. I want to get Casey's first here. I don't think you've gone first yet.
My floor for them is 9 wins. I think that's very easily obtainable for this group. 13 wins is my ceiling for this group. Wow. If they can, if they struggle at first at the beginning of the season, I think they can right the ship, or if they're just going to keep that momentum going from last season, 13 wins could be in this team's, but 9 is my floor for them.
All right, what you got, Dalton?
Yeah, 9 is also my floor. I think if they have, like I said, 2024 Texans is kind of something I could see. And the problem is, unlike the Texans that basically get minimum 5 free wins a year playing in that division, they don't have that injury. They play in a pretty tough division, and I think they could easily slip to 9 wins and be right on the fringe of the wild card. But I do think my ceiling for them, I've been kind of going back and forth. I've been trying to find a way where they could win 13 games and be a win better than they were last year. I just have trouble seeing it with the defense. Me too. Looking at that roster, that defense is just not good enough to win 13 games in the NFL. I just don't think 12. I'm going to keep the cap at 12. That's kind of where I'm at. And I think to do 12, Daniels would have to be even better than he was last year.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think I'm going to put the floor at 8 instead of 9, only because I could see this being a very pseudo Bengals situation where the offense is awesome, but maybe not as awesome as the Bengals offense is. And the defense is just not good enough to keep them in games a lot of the time. That's kind of what I see as a possibility.
Yeah.
They don't as far as ceiling, that's they don't have the just cheat codey type of, not saying there's not taking anything away from what the Bengals do, but when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you have a baseline of you better be top 10 offense minimum. And that's being generous. So I do think 12 is the right ceiling, though. Like you said, Dalton, I think that it'd be really hard in an NFC that I think is starting to creep up into being a little bit better of a conference the past couple of years. I think it'd be really hard to outdo what they did last year, given the fact that teams are, one, more prepared for them. I think a little bit this year, obviously, Cliff is going to have to continue to show that he can be a innovative play caller, and just keep that going with Daniels. And Daniels has to show that he can keep it up, right? The way he played quarterback last year and the way he went about it makes me think the sophomore slump just isn't going to happen. And like a lot of people tried to say, like just using the Texans as an example. I don't think CJ Stroud had a sophomore slump at all.
No,
I think
I
their
don't
offensive line was. No, I'm not saying you do, but a lot of people will say that.
Yeah,
And he was. I'm like, he was the same player last year. His offensive line just couldn't block anybody in the middle of the field. Like, just simply couldn't do it. And of course, their solution is get rid of Larry Tunsil, so that'll be good. Yeah. Anyway,
I will say, like and with the CJ Stroud thing, it's like I think a lot of the people saying he's going to have a slump are people that would love to have CJ Stroud on their team.
Yeah, I mean, I sure as hell
so yeah, like I think a lot of people saying that are dying for quarterback.
Yeah, if I could be in the AFC South and have CJ Stroud as my quarterback, I would do it tomorrow. So there's that. But let's get into our final team. We probably won't have to spend as much time on this team for like 50 different reasons. But the reigning Super Bowl champions, the reigning NFC East champions, of course, as well, the Philadelphia Eagles. Casey. Yeah, we know. I mean, again, there's not a lot to say about the team that has been said, but we'll spend some time on what they did. The only coaching staff move is due to being, hired away from. They do have Kellen Moore leave his post to go be the Saints head coach. R.I.P. Kellen Moore. The way things are looking, I don't know. But then they, they they promote Kevin Patullo to the offense coordinator spot. That is something that interests me because we've seen this team struggle a little bit when moving play callers around, and Sirianni seems to be more of the CEO type at this point. I don't necessarily think he's going to bring a ton to the play calling in the offense there, but they do have a very much like a system in place now with the guys they've had there for several years. I think they'll be okay there. Just losing Moore is definitely a downgrade, I would say. I'd be surprised if it wasn't somewhat of a downgrade there a little bit. But again, not something I'm super worried about. I'm assuming you guys are not either.
No, I mean, like you said, R.I.P. Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be back in a couple years.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think the only concern is if the offense gets off to a slow start and Sirianni feels the need to start getting back into calling plays and then things get a little messy, this team could go back to being the 2023 team very quickly.
Yeah.
I like what you Shane, I like what you said. He's the CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's perfect analogy for him right now.
That's the type of coach he's becoming. I think it's the only coach he can be, frankly.
Yeah.
So, good for Nick, I guess. Good job if you can get it. Offensive moves. Lost offensive lineman Mekhi Becton rejuvenated his career with the move to guard as a failed tackle with injuries and such. So good on him getting a good deal from the Chargers. Kenneth Gainwell, they lose their third down back when he was not really used that much last year because Saquon Barkley. They traded Kenny Pickett, which is hilarious because they managed to get anything back for him. It's funny. Specifically traded for Dorian Thompson-Robinson of the Browns, who, if there's ever an Eagles backup quarterback, that isn't Tanner McKee, of course. It would be Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So there's that. They traded also for Kenyon Green, of all people, who was just horrendous for the Texans. Which means he's probably going to be a Pro Bowler this year if he plays, by the way. We know this about the Eagles. They'll probably turn him into the next right guard for the future or whatever. I don't know. That's what they'd be doing over there, so we'll see about that. They lose Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We'll talk about the defensive moves, but that was part of the Kenyon Green trade, so I want to mention it now. They just traded for John Mechie, who, I've always been curious about if he could be good. Probably won't get to find out because they have, 4 receivers ahead of him probably at this point, but whatever. Of course they would trade for him. I don't know. They extended Saquon Barkley, gave him a nice pay raise for the back end of his deal after what he did last year. Same thing with Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson. So I'm telling you what, folks, it ain't happening yet. They ain't getting worse yet, folks, unfortunately, at least not on offense. Those are the big major moves. But.
Hey, Jerry, this is how you maintain talent. This is how you keep talented players.
Exactly.
You don't wait until Saquon's at the end of his deal and then make him wait until halfway through the season and then sign him to a contract that he'll never live up to.
No.
The four words I hate seeing on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and it annoys the piss out of me every time, is how he did it again. Every time I see that, but he did it. He did do it, and it pisses me off. He did it. And he's so good, and it pisses me off.
I know. We know. Real quick before we get into talking about the offensive moves in depth a little bit, they did in the draft add a bunch of guys on day 3 of the draft on offense. Drew Kendall, offensive lineman out of Boston College. Kyle McCord, personal favorite of mine. Miles Hinton and Cameron Williams at offensive tackle, which, of course, they drafted Cameron Williams because he's, of course, a freak athlete and a freaky offensive tackle who can't play yet, and that means he'll be great in 2 years.
Yeah. He'll be next year. He'll be a solid starter, and then by year 3, he will be a pro.
Yeah, Lane Johnson will retire in like 2 years, and then Cameron Williams will just show up, and he'll be like just really good, and like probably not anything insane, but just really good for no reason as like a 5th round pick. That's what happens. Don't let the Eagles get these guys, man. Don't do it. But then we're gonna do it.
We did it.
But we're gonna do it
again.
I'm just assuming that's how it's gonna work out. It might not. He might never play. But who cares? It's a 5th round pick or whatever it was. Like, who cares? But they're left. They'll get a rough.
Impressive.
To be fair, I wasn't a fan of him. I think he should have gone back to school. But if he wasn't going to go back to school, guess what? This is the second best option to me is go to the Eagles. So he'll be fine, I think. I'm not too worried about him. But the offensive moves, for the most part, this doesn't change anything for their offense, right? This is not like significant moves. This keeps everything in place. It keeps things going. We know what this offense is capable of when it's running on all cylinders. Like early in the season last year, Jalen Hurts was, to say bad would be an understatement. The first like 5 or 6 games, I would say he was really not good the first part of the season. But then once it started to click, as soon as he was playing at a good level again, it's like the offense just, you couldn't do anything about it because Barkley was good regardless. Once you actually had to worry about the passing game at all, it was over. Like there's no way you could do anything about it once they were able to do that. So if they can keep that up, what they did the back half last year on offense, it will have no problems here.
But if Hurts has the start to the year this year that he had last year, after what we've seen the last 2 weeks, people are going to get there's a subset of that fan base
as in
is going to get very loud.
Delco.
Let's put it this way: these are all the people that own Kelly Green, Cooper DeJean jerseys.
Accurate.
They're the people that are the terrorists of their fan groups.
Yeah. Listen, as someone who is not, I definitely wouldn't say that I am high on Jalen Hurts compared to the rest of the league. I don't dislike Jalen Hurts at all. I think he's a good quarterback. I do think that, there's certain things about him that does make it difficult sometimes in the passing game. Most of the time it doesn't matter because it's the Eagles, and they're just like, well, if we're so good, who gives a shit? Like, they pretty much are like, well, let's do what we got to do with them, and it will be just fine. That's what it's been, right, the last few years. So I'm not too worried about it. But the offense largely remains the same in terms of what they're trying to do and who's going to be playing significant snaps. Really, Becton is the only true, difference maker that they have to replace, and it's the Eagles they're going to because it's an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So that's really all I'd say. Defensive moves. Let's move over there real quick. This is where they did lose a significant amount of talent, but they did add a good bit as well in the draft especially. So let's get into that. So they lose Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the trade for Kenyon Green. Milton Williams goes out the door to the Patriots on a giant deal, which is good for him. Josh Sweat also gets a pretty nice deal with the Cardinals at about half the going rate for top edge rushers. So I guess that's a pretty good deal for the Cardinals all said and done.
Yeah.
Darius Slay is now a Steeler, which I'm sure that'll go just fine. Isaiah Rodgers is also gone here to the Vikings, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Oren Burks is out the door as well. Played really well whenever what's his name? The Georgia linebacker that was starting for them last year. I can't remember his name right now. I hate when this happens. I know who I'm talking about. N'Kobe Dean went down with injury. Oren Burks came in and had really good playoffs and just run down the stretch of the season. So we'll see if they can replace the depth there, which guess what? They did, by the way. So don't have to worry about that. We'll get to that in a second. They extend Zach Bond after a just phenomenal season. And, of course, the Eagles would do something like that. Sign Zach Bond of all people who, I'm a Wisconsin fan, so I know Zach Bond, but not many other people probably know Zach Bond at this point, especially with how he was completely irrelevant for the Saints his whole rookie contract until he ended up on the Eagles. Of course, he is an all-pro right away. Why not? And now he gets a nice fat contract as a linebacker. So good for him. Bring him back. And then they signed Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche to go off the edge to add to that edge depth. I think Ojulari especially very interesting to me in that group. Adore Jackson to compete for the cornerback 2 job, which I'm hoping he doesn't win because that's not great if you're any of the corners competing for that job other than him. But yeah, it seems like they can't decide yet, so that's fun. We'll see. And then, of course, we get into the draft where they add, in my opinion, at least 2 like immediate impact players: Jahad Campbell in the first round, linebacker out of Alabama, and safety Andrew Makuba out of Texas. Also add Ty Robinson, who's their type of interior defensive lineman for sure, big, athletic, makes sense. Add some other guys, depth guys, Smell Mondin at linebacker as well from Georgia, Mac McWilliams, a corner, and a fun, like twitched up, like kind of smaller edge rusher though, Antoine Powell-Riley out of Virginia Tech. So the defense lost a lot of guys, but I have no reason to think they can't replace them.
No.
Yeah. No, and the cornerback 2 thing, they haven't decided it yet. I think it's mostly because he's only been there 2 weeks. Their cornerback 2 is going to be Jahorian Bennett.
I think it will ultimately become
you
that.
can take that to the bank.
They probably want it to be Keely Ringo because of the draft capital invested in him, but I never really saw him as a starting corner personally. So
no, it'll be Bennett, and I think Bennett will we'll be saying it by the end of the year how he did it again. He got a Pro Bowl corner from the Raiders for a rotational defensive tackle. That's going to be what happens.
Yeah, and with this defense, the biggest one for me was what they're drafting. I know we talked about how they draft so well.
Yeah.
How the hell did Campbell drop to them?
Shoulder, apparently. And
I know, but
who gives a shit?
Yeah. How do you
can't
not
keep doing this stuff, man? Don't let the Eagles keep doing this crap.
Yeah, because this guy's probably gonna get healthy, and then we're just gonna hear his name everywhere, and we're like, oh, why didn't
him and Zach Vaughn as a duo? Just I can picture it. It's so stupid. It's legitimately good luck throwing the ball in the middle of the field ever against his team. If Campbell's healthy, good luck.
Yeah,
the draft picks. It's just incredible. How many guys they're able to draft. I just saw somewhere apparently they have 12 picks next year.
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's stupid.
It reminds me of how I know I'm just going to bring it into baseball. The Dodgers have the best farm system right now. How does that make sense? It's
good and they invest money into it.
But it's it's the Eagles. The Eagles with me, their farm system is their draft picks, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
What happens is it's like the Patriots were, where you draft well, and then people do tend to have faith in your system, and they see your backups play well in the preseason, and then you can turn them into 5th and 6th round picks, or guys that you drafted that really aren't that great but look good in your system that you let leave after their first rookie contract. Then you get a 4th round compensatory pick when Cleveland gives them a giant contract, stuff like that. I mean, that's what the Patriots did for years, and that's how they were able to kind of keep that dynasty going for as long as they were, because they were able to keep just loading up on picks.
To give you guys an idea, right now, assuming I don't know how many comp picks we're going to give out in the 3rd round, but assuming it's a normal amount, they're going to have 5 picks in the top 105 next year. How are we allowing the Eagles to do that shit? I just don't, because what's going to happen? I can already picture it now. For some reason, I don't know, name any probably Caleb Downs or something stupid from Ohio State. He's going to fall because he's a safety. He's going to get to 17, and they're going to trade they're going to trade the 1st round pick, their pick at 31 or 32, whatever it is, and their 2nd rounder or the 3rd round or something like that. Move up, take him. And now they just have Caleb Downs in the secondary too. That's the type of shit the Eagles do. Yep. If that happens a year from or whenever it would be 8 months from now, I'm gonna laugh my ass off when we're doing the draft because I'll be like,
it'll be Caleb Downs or it'll be either him or
I was
Peter
about to say
Woods.
Peter Woods was the other one. It's I don't know, he's kind of small actually. His frame's weird. I don't know. We don't like him. He's the 18th pick to the Eagles because they move up, and then him and Jalen Carter destroy the league for 7 years. That's what the type of shit the Eagles do. And I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Can we please stop doing this shit? Like, at some point, you have to look at the track record and go, like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't let this really talented dude who, like, has one or two things that we don't love exactly. Let's not let him last to 30 freaking overall. Like, can we do that maybe?
Yeah.
No?
Shit, let's just go ahead and give him Arch and fucking Jeremiah Smith while we're at it. Just give him the picks, man.
Yeah, just put the nail in the coffin ahead of time. I don't have to deal with it. Let's get into expectations for this team. I wonder what they are. My expectations is for this to be the same level of team as last year, just probably a little bit different because that's what they do. It's always a little different. They have a different wrinkle here or there, whatever it is. But this to me, I don't think you can really make an argument for any other team to be the top ranked team going into 2025. I really don't think you can. And it's because, yes, Jalen Hurts to me is closer to like 15th than he is 10th at quarterback in this league, to me personally. We probably, by the way, spoiler, probably going to do a quarterback ranking show at some point because that sounds fun before the season starts. But it doesn't matter because the Eagles have hacked the code of like, okay, we just need to have a quarterback that, when called upon, can make throws that we need in big spots. And Jalen Hurts, through all his faults that he does have as a passer, through some of the stretches he has where he struggles, he has consistently done that for this team when called upon. That's all they need out of the quarterback position because everything else is so good that, yes, like Josh Allen, unbelievable MVP. Lamar Jackson, MVP multiple times. We know what Patrick Mahomes is. We know what even the Staffords of the world, the Herberts, the Burrows, they don't have this Eagles roster behind them. And at some point, we saw it in the Super Bowl last year. We know how good Patrick Mahomes is. He did not have a good enough roster to compete with the Eagles roster. Just did not have it. Like, he didn't play well in that game, but he could have played the game of his life. And I don't know if it would have mattered.
They still lost.
I just don't know if it would have mattered. Like, this team is just too stacked with talent, and it's no different this year. And I have no reason to believe that they shouldn't, one, be back in the Super Bowl, and two, have a really good shot at winning it. Like, we'll see if they can avoid the so-called Super Bowl hangover. I don't think this is a team that's susceptible to that. So,
no. And, like, the thing is, too, like, a lot of teams, like, Super Bowl hangover, injuries are a big part of it. The problem is the Eagles they're so injury-proof.
Unbelievable.
Like, at every position. I mean, hell, we kind of alluded to earlier. I think Jalen Hurts could go down, and this team would still be the best team in the NFC. Even if Jalen Hurts got hurt, I think I would still pick them to win the NFC at least. I don't know if they'd beat
one of the AFC powerhouses,
or Baltimore in the Super Bowl, but I think they'd win the NFC.
It's hard to really argue with it at this point. Like, it just is. Like,
it would look different, but
like
they would just start throwing the ball.
I don't want to act like this team is unbeatable by any means. I don't want to act like they couldn't slump somewhat to some degree.
Yeah.
But they're just so insulated for so many of the things that typically are what derails teams that are this good, like coming from one season to the next, that it's just hard for me to say that they're not going to be the same team to some degree as they were last year. Like, maybe Saquon Barkley suddenly isn't himself anymore. Like, but then again, they're probably going to be able to run the piss out of the football anyway because their offensive line is so damn good. Like, when you have that good of an offensive line and then Saquon Barkley, you get 2,000 yards, but you could probably get like 1,400 out of a combination of other guys if you needed to. That's fine.
Will Shipley and A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon might struggle to get 4 yards, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. But
Shipley could be
Shipley would be fun. Him and Cooper DeJean could start a fan club. But anyway, let's get into the win total range here. This one I'm sure will be pretty tight knit. Win total for the most part, probably floor and ceiling. I have the floor. I'm going to say 11 just because I want to give a little bit of room to say, like, they're not going to be like this 13-win team for sure because it's just hard in the NFL. It is to win that many games consistently. So I think 11 is pretty fair. I think a lot of things could go wrong for this team. They'd still win 11 games most likely. And then I think I'll say 15. That's about as high as I'm willing to go for a team. And if I think this is the best team in the league, I have to give them the 15 win ceiling. I will not pick a team to win more than 15 games. It's just really fucking hard to do that. So that'll be my ceiling for that team. What do you think?
I am right there with you. I think 11 wins happens if they really go through like a lot of like internal struggle and turmoil, kind of like they did in 2023. Right. But again, that 2023 team went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, 2023 is the team that struggled. 2022 team was the one that went to the Super Bowl. So 2023 is that weird in between year where they still made the playoffs but weren't any good really. So yeah. What do you got, Casey?
Yeah, so one of them. No, you're good. Yeah, I went on my Google machine here and saw that they still have Saquon, Brown, Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata. Like
Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson being a tackle duo, by the way, should be legal. Like something should be. The league should step in and be like, "There's too many bad offensive lines for you guys to have two of those guys on your offensive line." Like two of the very best at preventing pressure in the NFL on the same line is hilarious to me at the tackle spots, especially. Like, I don't know. Like, one of the things I want to mention too before I let you finish, Casey, is, and I don't want to be this guy that keeps like harping on it, but like people keep putting Jalen Hurts into conversations that he does not belong in, and it's because of how fucking good this offensive line is. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I think he's a good quarterback. I really do. But he keeps getting thrown around in conversations that he does not belong in. Like I see a quarterback list that he's in the top 5 of a lot. And I'm like, I'm sorry. We're not looking at this objectively. We're just not. Yeah. Like I just can't get there. But that's why he's in those conversations, despite not being quite that level of quarterback. I think he's back end of tier 2 type of quarterback. Maybe the very, very top of tier 3, depending on how you tier your quarterbacks out. But that's all you need with this offense. That's all you need with this team. And I think he's done a great job of playing his role. But that him being in those conversations tells you all you need to know about how good this group is around him.
Yeah. You know what would be interesting? Just have Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott swap teams.
Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be very, very interesting. Because the thing is, like, I don't know. The Eagles would technically be, I think, a little bit higher floor, but I don't think the ceiling would really be that much different because I don't think Dak offers enough in the running game to offset the difference in passing that he brings. Like,
maybe, but like I also think
Dak is a better player. I'll say that obviously, but it'd
be interesting. But Hurts, I think Hurts in Dallas would be rough.
It would be rough. And it's, again, they just don't have the infrastructure for him to work that well, right?
Yeah.
Like, they do have receiver talent, but it's like 2 guys, and one of them is only sort of good sometimes, and he likes to
But play action wouldn't be the same.
No. That running back group with Hurts would be really bad because they would not be able to – they'd be able to run the ball better than they do with Dak, but, like, not enough for it to make a difference, right? Like, it'd be tough. But no, like it is what it is. Like, but go ahead, Casey. What's your floor and ceiling here?
Oh no, it's all good. So like Googled it. They still have those guys. I did not add Jalen Hurts to that list because what you said. I don't.
We know, but we know what he brings. He's a good player.
Yeah. So like they still have those guys. A floor of 10 wins, in my opinion. Even like, I don't know. I would be shocked if they go below 10, and I have a rule of I'm not going to give a team above 14 wins.
That's fair. I understand.
So I'm going to say 14. Yeah.
It happens less than people think it does.
Yeah. So I'm going to say 14. And they have Howie calling shots still. So who knows? It's hard to say this team's going to be bad after they had that struggling year after the Super Bowl in 22. But I think this team's different than that team is the post or in the post Super Bowl from the 2022 year. So,
I think the biggest thing is Sirianni's growth as a head coach because he's a young, new head coach. I think that's something that we do often forget with Sirianni is that he's relatively young for head coach of a budding dynasty at this point, which I think they're nearing that territory already. Mm-hmm. I think his growth into that role is like you said earlier, the CEO head coach and him just like running the big picture. I think, in him being kind of the Because, I mean, he's a very emotional guy, and I think he's learning how to, like, kind of keep that in check and kind of know when to push buttons. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing of why I feel really confident that they're not going to drop off like they did before.
Yeah. Imagine if he had, like, I mean, obviously he won a Super Bowl, but imagine if he was like Andy Reid, where like just a young Andy, like a younger version of Andy Reid, where he like had these good years in Philly and then just moved on, and then like you said, like Dalton, he needs to figure out. Yeah, they
did chase him.
Yeah, he's still like a young coach, and I still think he's fit. I don't know if he knows what kind of coach he is yet. Still, I think that his roster and Howie have helped him a lot, and a lot of head coaches would die to every new head coach would die to have the opportunity he was put in, if you look at it. So
you want to hear something funny? So Nick Sirianni is 44 years old, very young for a head coach still.
Yeah.
Right. He's been the head coach now since I believe was it 2021? Yeah, 2021. So he's been the head coach for now 4 full seasons, right? Do you know how old Sean McVay is?
I'm going to say like 40.
39.
Yeah.
Sean McVay has been coaching the Rams since 2017, and he is 5 years younger than Nick Sirianni.
It's crazy. But Sean McVay is also a computer. 40. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. it's just funny to think about, right? Because Sirianni, objectively, very young head coach for the NFL standards. He's been coaching half as long as McVay has as head coach, and he's 5 years older than him.
Yeah.
So funny. Just wanted to point that out because I was like, I'm pretty sure Sean McVay is not 40 yet. And then I looked it up. I'm like, holy shit, he's not.
That's crazy.
Good for him.
Dude's a computer.
But that'll do it for us for the NFC East. It was only, just a solid, quick 2-hour show or so. We like to get in depth here, like to go on our rants. It's hard with this division not to, because like the Cowboys are just the Cowboys. We don't need to hash that out anymore. Giants are kind of their own thing as well. Like, who knows what the hell they're going to be doing. Commanders trying to just make it keep going, and the Eagles are trying to just, keep being the Eagles pretty much.
So. Yeah, we can't help but glaze Eagles a little bit.
We have to a little bit.
Yeah.
Glaze a little bit. I think it's okay. I mean, look at I can take it off here. Look at, I got Howie Roseman Glazer right here for my title for a reason. Dude is who I want to be when I grow up.
I want the Commanders fans to know. Commanders fans know I had your back, left hand up.
There you go. But that'll do it for us this week. We might be back Friday, hopefully, with another preview. Time we'll be doing the AFC East. I have to make sure Zach can be there because I do not want to talk ill of his Dolphins without him being able to clap back at me. Not that he will. He absolutely will be like, yes, they're dog shit. I agree. Yeah. But still, I don't want to trash him too bad without him having the ability to defend himself a little bit. Hopefully Tua can also defend himself. It's early. We'll talk about that later. It's a conversation for another time. That'll do it for us this week, folks. We'll see you guys maybe again, like it's a Friday, if not
tomorrow night. See you guys tomorrow night. Yeah. On the betting show, if you guys
on the betting show, of course.
Yeah, if you guys bet.
Casey. Good job.
Show up.
Yeah, definitely.
We have actual competitive football to bet on.
We do.
Tomorrow.
We do.
Regulation football of the American type.
Regulation football. Yeah. But, definitely check us out tomorrow night as well. We will be getting into that here.
Yeah.